right, everyone. So here's what the deal is with the possible schedules coming up after this. I've come to the realization that the main stopping block right now seems to be me trying to get through the Paranormal Files episodes here. They can be very long episodes. Matter of fact, upon loading this episode up, I suddenly realized we're in for 4 hours. I might need to take a break. Get dinner, and then come back and finish this as it is tonight. So I might actually have to throw this as an editor, so the quality might not be up to the usual quality, usual sharpness, if you will, for the video. Just a heads up in case you notice anything unusual about that. But the plan is that we're going to focus on Paranormal Files on Mondays and Tuesdays, because those are the days that I actually have off, and I have plenty of time to sit around for like upwards of 3 hours in a day and get a big video done and just get it out of the way. The rest of the week, I want to catch up on all the rest of the smaller, shorter paranormal videos, finally get them done, finally get them out of the way, and then we can work on Thief and maybe work on other reaction videos, as well as our Music Mondays returning. Seems to be working so far. I almost forgot about it today, but I happened to remember I already had an idea in mind and quickly got done, thankfully. Sometimes those can take a little while longer than this one usually did, so knock on wood, I don't forget next week's and end up behind. But with that being said, that's our schedule plan. Here's where we're kicking things off. So, with my Monday off, you'll be getting this video on Tuesday. Here's the Paranormal Files. And if you couldn't tell from the sign behind me or from the title of this episode, the Lizzie Borden house. Very popular. So popular, it has a rhyme of its own from the antiquity days that this horrific murder actually took place in. So without further ado, let's see how much stands up to scrutiny when it comes to the Lizzie Borden murders. And go! Whoa.
On tonight's episode of the Paranormal Files, we're at one of the most haunted homes in all of America, the Lizzie Borden murder house. Right here in this very spot. It was right here in this very spot where in the late 1800s, Mr. Borden was chopped to death with an axe. And it was said that his face was so severely damaged that they couldn't tell if it was a human or a pile of raw meat. Turn me into a maniac and it turned me inside out, but I can't stay away from the wrong side of town. So tonight on Paranormal Files, we're here to try and answer the question, did Lizzie Borden do it? We don't know, nobody knows the answer, but we do know that we have this entire hotel rented to ourselves tonight. This is a historic moment here on the channel. This is an episode we have been waiting more than a decade to film, and it's just so unbelievably exciting to be here. Stuff's already happening, we're already getting a little spooked out, but anyways, y'all, it's Colin Brown here. Thank you for watching, and welcome to the Paranormal Files. All right, everybody. Tonight we are in Fall River, Massachusetts. Okay. Ooh. And we have a very, very special treat. Connor, if you want to zoom in on that street sign right there, look at what street we're turning on. Borden Street. Tonight we are going to be investigating one of the most notorious properties in American history, the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Now, we have actually rented out the entire hotel tonight, guys. So we have the whole place to ourselves.
So anything you hear, this place has been well kept. And anything we hear should be only inside the building unless it's somebody messing around outside. And you should be able to tell the difference.
For years.
Sorry, I'm trying to talk over them. So yeah, as I was saying, so the whole place is rented out. It's only them. If it's indoor noises, it's very obviously only stuff that should be going on indoors. And it's only the 4 of them, so there should be no extra noises. Anything outside might be interference, but usually it's not as loud or as noticeable. least in past experiences, unless for whatever reason is a rundown place like we've encountered also on the channel, in which case anything can make a noise that's noticeable enough inside the building. But anyhow, let's go.
Look at it, dude. Oh my god. Wow. You gotta pull in the driveway right here.
Right here?
Wow, dude. Lizzie Borden. Oh,
okay.
Remember when we came here and we couldn't even get in for a tour?
No.
No.
And we came here and we looked. We're like, can we just have a tour?
Wow. Yeah.
No. And we wanted to stay overnight. No.
What the heck? We've never stepped foot inside of this location, but
yeah.
Oh.
I am so excited. I mean, the Lizzie Borden story is one of the craziest, isn't it?
Right.
Crazy.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
The old rhyme, yes.
You guys better be prepared, mother and father.
Yeah, we're trying. We're trying.
Don't do that to us tonight.
I had a Lizzie in my family.
Oh, you
Connor
did.
had a Lizzie that axe murdered somebody.
Oh, that's right.
Right, we're watching.
Allegedly.
We're gonna watch out for Connor tonight.
Yeah, Connor might.
It runs in my blood.
Oh, gosh.
The body in the blood. All right.
All right, guys, we're gonna head in. Let's do this.
Lizzie Borden is one of the most infamous true crime stories, but it also involves one of the most haunted houses in all of America. It's a beautiful location, now a bed and breakfast, and you can actually go spend the night there. Very scary, though. I was terrified that I was going to wake up and someone be in my face. Luckily, there was not, that I know of. But from the outside of this place, it is beautiful. The history is absolutely crazy in this house, and I was so excited to get inside.
The Lizzie Borden house. Now, guys, the Lizzie Borden house is literally one of America's most iconic haunted houses and haunted locations. I mean, Waverly Hills, Trans-Allegheny, Lizzie Borden house. These are all places that are constantly listed. The Winchester house as being the most haunted, most iconic places in all of America. And I've never been to the Lizzie Borden house before. I stopped by for a tour back in 2019 and they weren't open. So I wasn't even able to go, see the inside of the house. That's why getting the opportunity to actually rent the entire property out, every single room in the house, and have the keys to the Lizzie Borden house, I mean, that's just a monumental opportunity and milestone to reach as a paranormal investigator. And it's creepy. I mean, obviously, every single person in America knows the story of Lizzie Borden and her axe and the dead parents inside of the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. It's an infamous story. Now, if you want to hear the full story and you want to get all the details on this exact crime, you can listen to the podcast that I co-host with Courtney, my wife, Murder in America. We actually did a very long episode on Lizzie Borden a year ago. So if you want to listen to that, maybe pause this video, go listen to that, and come back because
there's a very
so
long
much
episode.
Detail on that story.
I'd love to, but no.
I'm not 100% convinced that Lizzie did it. I know some people are, but regardless, when we got to the house, obviously we needed a historical tour to figure out where everything went down in there. And in my opinion, this has to be one of the most interesting tours we've ever gotten. You guys are really in for a treat.
Hello, I'm Phil Devitt, and I'm a tour guide here at the historic Lizzie Borden house in Fall River, Massachusetts. This home is old. It goes back to 1845, but it's very well known for what happened here on August 4th, 1892. On that day, a gentleman by the name of Andrew Borden was making his way home, right up 2nd Street, outside this front door. And he came in through this door to take a nap on his sofa. And that was the last nap he ever took. Shortly after Mr. Borden closed his eyes, somebody approached him with a rather sharp weapon, and we believe that was a hatchet. 10 to 11 blows to his face. He was completely unrecognizable. Somebody said he looked more like a pile of raw meat than anything human. It got worse because what Mr. Borden didn't know was there had already been a murder here in the house that day while he was out in town doing his business. And it happened right up the stairs over here. His wife, Abby Borden, was found face down in a pool of her own drying blood in a guest bedroom 19 blows, mainly to the back and side of her head. So very quickly, questions arise here in Fall River. Not only because of the shocking brutality of this crime, but because of the victims. This was a prominent elderly couple who were otherwise under the radar people. Nothing really exciting about them. And then this happened. Who could have done it and why? Well, all eyes focused on Lizzie Borden, who was the youngest daughter of the victims. Lizzie was 32 at the time of the murders. She lived here at home, and it wasn't looking so good for her at first because she admitted to being home during those murders. She had alibis that nobody else could back up. All the doors in the house were locked that day. There were no signs of forced entry anywhere on the property. And so Lizzie, it looks like you're our number one suspect. Lizzie went to jail, awaited trial, and then ended up being acquitted of the murders. The jury decided not enough evidence to convict her. And so she walked free, lived the rest of her life as a free woman here in this city, and nobody else was ever brought to justice for the crimes. To this day, 131 years later, they're unsolved. But now people can come here, walk in the footsteps of the family, and try to get answers really the only way they can now, which is by trying to communicate with the energy here. And maybe, we'll get some of those answers tonight. We'll see.
Awesome.
All right.
All
right,
so happy to be here.
All right. So we've come here to the front parlor of the home. This is where the Bordens would have received all of their guests, so it only seems appropriate that we start in here as well. Just some notes about the house that you're going to notice. It looks like the 1890s in here. We did that by design. The house has been put together to look the way it did when the Bordens called this place home. But of course, even though we have a piano here and some nice lighting, all the nice days in this house are overshadowed by that one horrible day in 1892. And there are two major moments that played out in this room that are significant to the case. This is the room where Lizzie Borden was when she learned she was the suspect in the murders. So just picture her sitting in here on one of these comfy seats when a couple of guys walk into the room and break the news to her. We actually have them pictured on the wall between the windows over here. On the left is the city marshal, Rufus Hilliard. On the right is the mayor of the city, John Coughlin. And they have the awkward job of telling the daughter of a prominent elderly couple, a young lady who teaches Sunday school a couple of blocks away, that she is suspected of killing both of them with a hatchet. They don't come right out and say it. So Lizzie is the one who has to kind of pull it out from them. Is somebody in this house a suspect, she asks. Well, yes, they tell her. And who would that be? Well, it's you, Miss Borden. So it's said that Lizzie rose out of her seat, put her hands out like this, and said, "Then take me, I'm ready to go at any time." Like daring them to arrest her. You think you've got the proof, let's get the show on the road. They don't do that. They say, well, don't leave town. Don't leave the house. So they politely put her on house arrest while they gather evidence. Well, just a few days later, the charges will come. Lizzie will be charged with murder of her father, murder of her stepmother, and murder of both. A third charge just to cover all of our bases, I guess.
Right.
This is the place where Lizzie faces those charges. This is the Central Police Station in Fall River. No longer standing, unfortunately, but it was a very important place in this case. And then we've got this place over here. This is the jailhouse in the city of Taunton, Massachusetts, where Lizzie was held for 10 months awaiting her trial. And it was an agonizing 10 months. Even though Lizzie maintained her innocence, she was convinced that this was going to be lights out for her. She said she felt the densest of shadows hanging over her. So some dark, lonely days for Lizzie Borden. But that wasn't to be for long. The trial came in June of 1893 in the city of New Bedford, Massachusetts. And here's a little bit more about the trial. If you look up here, you're looking at the 12-man jury that acquitted Lizzie Borden of the crimes. They were in an interesting position. This was the first trial of its kind to be carried over the news wires in this country, which meant that everybody from here to California and beyond, they were talking about Lizzie Borden every day at the breakfast table and at night. It was, and often is, compared to the O.J. Simpson trial of its day, a huge 19th century trial. So these gentlemen took less than 90 minutes to decide that Lizzie was going to walk free. It said they had their minds made up in about 20-25 minutes, but they waited 90 because it just kind of gave a better look. 90 minutes felt better. They brought back the verdict, not guilty, and Lizzie walked free. One interesting note about these gentlemen is that almost all of them, in addition to, well, all of them being male, no women on juries in Massachusetts until the 1950s, I believe, but almost all these guys are English Protestants. This is very important. The Bordens were an English Protestant family. The cops who arrested Lizzie Borden, who were in charge of the investigation in this house, they were mainly Irish Catholic guys. And back then, in this city and everywhere, the English Protestants, the Irish Catholics, not getting along so well. Lizzie walked into court every day on the arm of her Protestant minister. So what a look that was, too. And you wonder if the jury, despite what they heard, might have thought, how could this good Christian girl, one of us, do something so evil, so terrible to her parents? We have this picture to this day because Lizzie, got it in the mail from the jury. They posed for it, signed the back of it, and gave it to her as a gift after acquitting her of the murders, which is crazy to us now.
It's a little bit odd, yeah.
Another big moment that played out in this room was the funeral service for the victims. Mr. and Mrs. Borden were laid out in the family parlor. In fact, it said that their caskets were right here, coming out from the wall. Mr. Borden and Mrs. Borden, open caskets, which once you see the autopsy photos, you'll think why this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it said that they were open. There's an account that says Lizzie leaned in and kissed her father on the cheek before the casket closed. That'd be his remaining cheek because the left side of his face was completely demolished. And then out the floor to the cemetery, which is just about a 5-minute drive today. About 3,000 people out in front of the house, though, that morning. Curious onlookers, right? Some of them were in mourning because they knew Mr. and Mrs. Borden, but the great majority of them showed up because they saw this in the papers.
Right.
So that same curiosity that brought all those people here 131 years ago is what still brings people here today. It's what brings you here right now. It's never waned, which is absolutely fascinating. Once at the cemetery, though, Mr. and Mrs. Borden
interesting how it's stuck in the zeitgeist of everyone's
more
knowledge.
Actually ends up happening to their bodies before they're allowed to rest in peace. So we'll talk about that when we get into the next room. Any questions so far on anything, though?
No.
Just a couple notes, too, on the family and wealth at the time in the city. In 1892, Fall River is extraordinarily wealthy, and that's due mainly to our place in manufacturing. You might have noticed off the highway some old mills standing. Those are remnants of our textile past. We were doing very, very well for the mill owners, the presidents, the people who ran those businesses. So extraordinary wealth circulating around the city back then. And Mr. Borden did quite well for himself. He was a self-made man. At the time of his death, worth about $500,000. In today's money, that's $10 to $12 million. But just to kind of emphasize how wealthy people were here, Mr. Borden, even with that money, was not the wealthiest guy in the city by a long shot. There were people far wealthier than he was. Even so, he could have afforded a nicer home in a nicer part of town. This was, and still is, a mixed residential business district. Noisy, dirty, cluttered, crowded, a lot of things going on. The nice part of town was known as the Hill. It's quite literally uphill. But he stayed here, and it said that he did so because, well, he knew the value of his money, having worked so hard for it, didn't want to spend more than he needed to. And here he was close to all of his business interests downtown. He was a real mover and shaker in this community.
Fair enough.
And he could kind of keep an eye on things if he was close by. No will was found when he died. So what ended up happening with his money, with his wife also out of the picture? Well, that wealth went to his oldest daughter, Emma, who split it with Lizzie, and the two of them were pretty much set for the rest of their lives after that.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. A lot of money. And just some interesting lyrics here, too, for a song called You Can't Chop Your Papa Up in Massachusetts. So, we'll head to the dining room now. This house is a bit like a maze when you walk through it. And if it's your first time here, yeah, I can see it being easy to get a little bit lost. Here we are in the dining room. This is the room where the Bordens had their final meal, breakfast. And it wasn't really appetizing by our standards. They had some mutton broth that'd been sitting out on the stove for a few days in the hot August heat. Johnny cakes, some fruit, especially pears. Pears are a big thing on this property, you'll notice. Cookies, crackers, a cup of coffee, and that's it. Only 3 people at the table for breakfast that morning. You had Mr. Borden, Mrs. Borden, and their overnight guest. So I haven't talked about this person just yet. But the Borden's overnight guest was a guy named John Vinicum Morse. The day before the murders, he showed up on the front doorstep, unannounced, without any luggage, and pretty much said, hey, I'd like to spend the night. John Morse was Lizzie and Emma's uncle. He was the brother of their birth mother, who had been deceased about 30 years at the time. And while he would come calling every now and then, this was a bit unusual. He always telegrammed and said, I'll be here on, the 5th at 2 o'clock, right? Very specific. This time, that didn't happen.
Nowhere
so
seemed
his
like he was out of
visit here
sorts.
was quite an unexpected occurrence. The Bordens said, come on in, and they ushered him up to that second-floor guest bedroom where he spent the night. And yes, that is the room where Mrs. Borden was found dead the next day. But before any of the murders happened, John is sitting here at the table to have breakfast. Lizzie was home, but up in her bedroom. And to be honest with you, Lizzie kind of did her own thing, especially when it came to her stepmother. It said that they did not get along very well. In fact, there were reports that behind her stepmother's back, Lizzie is referring to her as a cow, a nasty, mean old thing, and other not so pleasant things. Well, families fight sometimes.
Right.
Wedges get driven between people. Money often plays a role. And I think that's the case here as well. Just a few years before the murders in this house, Mr. Borden did something nice for his wife, stepmother to his children. He found out that her half-sister was in danger of being evicted from her home. And rather than let that happen, he said, I'm going to buy the home and I'm going to put it in my wife's name, and that's the end of that. Family will be safe from the streets. Well, Lizzie and Emma heard about this, not from their father, not from their stepmother, but out in the community, left a bad taste in their mouth. They went to their father and said, Father, that's all well and good, but we're your flesh and blood. Aren't we entitled to some property too? Well, Lizzie later said, I never asked my father for anything I didn't get, although sometimes I had to ask a few times. So I'm thinking that she and her sister wore their father down to the point when he said, fine, here's a home. Mr. Borden gave his daughters a property down on Ferry Street by the water here in the city. It was Lizzie's birthplace that he still owned. A quarter apiece he charged them. And immediately, Lizzie and Emma had regrets about this. Turned out being a landlord meant you had to work hard. Constant concerns about the property and upkeep and tenant issues and all this stuff. It was a headache. So just a few weeks before the murders, in fact, they convinced their father to take the property off their hands. We don't want it anymore, Father. And he gave his daughters $5,000 for a property he had given them for free just a few years earlier. But it's said that around that time, with money leaving the family, evidence of Mrs. Borden and her people getting their hands into stuff that wasn't theirs, that Lizzie stopped calling this woman her mother. It was stepmother and Mrs. Borden from here on out. And that might be why Lizzie's not here at the breakfast table with the family that morning. Well, after breakfast ends, these people get up, go their separate ways. And this is important. So, Mrs. Borden is going to tend to some dusting and upkeep around the house. Uncle John's going to go visit a niece and go to the post office here in the city. Mr. Borden sees him out the side door, then Mr. Borden departs for business himself. And they never meet back here again, alive. Any guesses as to what this might be right here?
Stretcher?
A stretcher. It is, in a way. This is an authentic Victorian-era autopsy board. So this is a real coroner's board, heavily used in the late 19th and possibly early 20th centuries. We have one of these hanging here because, well, in addition to a dining room, this became an autopsy room. Mrs. Borden's body was brought from upstairs where she was found down here into the dining room and laid out on one of these for the initial autopsy. Her husband was autopsied in the room where he was killed. We're going to go there soon. And maybe autopsy is the wrong word here. What they were really doing to these victims was opening up the stomach and then shipping it up to Harvard Medical School to look for something in there. They were looking for poison in the bodies of these victims. So I'll talk about that, but I do have some photos to lay out for you. And these are a bit graphic, but they tell the story better than anything can. So we'll start with this one here, the back of Mrs. Borden's head. It's been shaved so you can get a closer look at her wounds. 19 wounds were counted altogether. The majority of them to the head, one between the shoulder blades, another one to the front of her face, which we'll talk about upstairs. As bad as that photo is, I don't think it does justice to just how bad Mrs. Borden got it. And then, of course, we have her husband, Mr. Borden. People who were first on scene described his face as a pile of raw meat, not resembling anything human. And I think they're right. When you look at this photo, you see really nothing where a face should be. A closer view here. The face has been demolished with 10 to 11 blows. And what that damage did was it not only, pushed a good chunk of Mr. Borden's face in, but he had an eyeball dangling down by a cheek at one point, split in half. His nose was barely hanging on to his face. It was just unimaginable damage, and all you can do is hope that he was fast asleep when the first blow came down, really didn't have a chance to register the horrific feeling of it.
Right.
Now, like I said, Mr. Borden's cut all the way down. Same for his wife. They took out the stomachs and tested them for poison. And that's for two big reasons, okay? So, reason number one, everyone in this house was sick really in the days leading up to the murder. Right? And nasty sick. We've all been there before. You know, you're sweating, you're getting up in the middle of the night, you're throwing up. It's just not good. Mrs. Borden is so rattled by this sickness the day before the murders that she runs across the street to the home of the family doctor. It's a guy named Seabury Bowen. And she says, Dr. Bowen, I think somebody's trying to poison us. And he kind of talks her off a ledge. He goes, no, that's not the case here. He goes, it's probably just the summer illness or the summer complaint, which was his way of saying food poisoning. Now, Mrs. Borden might sound paranoid saying someone's out to get her husband. But remember, Mr. Borden's a prominent businessman in the city, and as such, he's not well liked by everybody, right? It's not kumbaya with Mr. Borden for everyone. So maybe somebody does have it out for the old man, and they want to take him out with the family. But food poisoning does seem quite likely, given that, refrigeration, not really what it is today, and maybe some nasty swordfish they'd had earlier in the week turned their stomachs. Even Lizzie had reported feeling ill at some point during the week. But then there's more stuff about poison. After the murders, word reaches a pharmacy just a couple of blocks away, and the guy behind the counter, a pharmacist named Eli Bentz, says, "Murder at the Borden house." He goes, "Lizzie Borden, I'm pretty sure she came into my shop yesterday and tried to buy a bottle of prussic acid." Now that's dangerous, lethal stuff. By the way, Eli's pictured right here in this oval frame. Well, the story went, Lizzie came in, asked to buy 10 cents worth of this poison. He said, "You need a doctor's note for that. I can't just give it to you." Apparently she stomped her feet and said, "I've come in and bought it before. What's the big deal? Besides, all I want it for is to bring it home and clean a sealskin cape in the attic." He goes, "You might have come in and bought it before, but not from me you haven't, and you're not going to get any today." So out she walks in a huff without that poison. Nevertheless, we're curious now. What's in the stomachs of Mr. and Mrs. Borden, given that everyone was sick and we've got this fishy story in the air? Well, no poison was found in the bodies of either victim. So we've hit kind of a dead end there. But it still makes you wonder. By the way, his testimony about Lizzie coming in and buying that poison will never be heard by the jury. It wasn't admitted in the courtroom. You wonder how or if that might have swayed the jury had they been allowed to hear it. Well, even after the funeral service of the victims, which played out in this house, there would be more to do. And that's where the cemetery comes in. This here's Oak Grove Cemetery, right here in Fall River. It's about 5 miles away. Main gate still stands there today. Several days after the murders, after the funerals, medical examiner gets a call and says, "Hey, we need you to go down to the cemetery and remove the heads from the victims. They're to be used as evidence in the trial."
What?
So Dr. William Dolan has the really horrific task of removing the bodies from a holding tomb and bringing them over here to this place right off the main gate. And there in that room, he gets to work. He takes a saw, just like that one there, to the necks of the victims. By now, he reported Mr. and Mrs. Borden's bodies were in such advanced decomposition that their brains had pretty much liquefied in their skulls and were evacuating out of the holes in those heads. Well, he carried on with his job, removed the heads, brought them home, fired up the stove, and boiled the flesh clean off of them, until he was left with their skulls, devoid of any flesh. Trial photos of the skulls are here in our case today. The heads were presented in the courtroom along with plaster replicas. It's said that a juror passed out upon seeing a skull presented. A really bizarre scene when a prosecutor puts Mr. Borden's skull on top of a stack of law books so everyone could get a good look. And it looked like Mr. Borden was talking to them with the jawbone moving up and down. Absolute insanity. As for what ended up happening to the heads after the trial, well, we believe that they were returned to the bodies. Just not in the way you'd think. They're buried in their own separate cases about 3 feet above the caskets of the victims at Oak Grove Cemetery today. So they never dug all the way down, opened the caskets, and put the heads in their rightful places with the rest of the corpses. Before we get out of this room, I want to bring attention to the ironing board here. And this is where our friend Lizzie comes into play. Lizzie has alibis for the day of the murders, but it's her word, right? Nobody else can verify what Lizzie was doing. Lizzie claimed that while her stepmother was being hacked to death in the guest room above us, just on the other side of this wall, Lizzie said she was either in the basement looking for cloths, in the kitchen right over my shoulder here, heating up some irons, or right here ironing those cloths. And what did she see? What did she hear? What did she sense while this murder was happening? Nothing. Business as usual in the Borden house, and she just kept ironing that day. Whether you believe that or not, that's for you to decide. But
interesting.
Pretty wild.
Yeah. Yep. Real feel-good tour.
Yeah, right.
Happy,
So
joy.
This might be my favorite room in the house, and I don't want to say because of what happened here, but in spite of it, there's a certain energy about this room. We are now at the scene of one of our crimes. This is the room where Mr. Borden was killed. In fact, it happened right here.
Where
in this spot.
Yeah.
So,
another dad is sitting right
I
now.
was waiting to get killed.
you know, just when you think you can settle into this place, Mr. Borden was right here. In fact, if you want to illustrate for us, you can. Just
Yeah.
exactly.
Let's
Do it.
I'm gonna lay down or just sit up.
Yeah. Well, you can do. Yeah. right that, and then maybe lean in that way a little bit, okay? And you want to settle in, you want your head to be on that rest, okay? And then we'll see how closely it matches up with the actual crime scene photo. All right, so get in position.
That's what he was doing earlier.
Papa Spooks is a napper. I can't blame him.
Okay,
I'm
so
a napper
here's
myself once in a blue
this
moon.
exact scene on August 4th.
Oh, yeah, I feel like.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Is he just sleeping?
Well, he was.
He's dead here?
He's dead. Yeah.
He's dead at that point, yes.
A picture of him right
Yes,
before
Pops.
the murder came in.
Damn. Okay, so I gotta do a little differently.
You gotta be a little dead. So that's him.
Make up the
Afterwards,
face.
right?
Viewer discretion advised if you're not ready for this sort of thing. Reenactment time. Kind of amusing seeing everyone do reenactments through this channel now. It's a little weird, but hey, at least it's their own original content for it. And honestly, reenactments could help charge up the energy a bit more too. You never know for sure. A hefty reminder of why they're here and what they're looking for.
So you look at that and you go, how could this possibly happen? Well, a rather series mundane of events had to take place in order for Mr. Borden to get here and for the killer to get to him. So it starts with Mr. Borden coming home from his business that day downtown and coming up to the front door in the foyer where we started. Now the door is locked, he can't get in, so he starts rapping on it. Now luckily for him, Bridget Sullivan, the maid in residence here at the house, she heard Mr. Borden knocking. She was actually washing the windows in this room. So she drops her cleaning supplies, rushes over to the door, and starts to open it. But it's stuck. And in fact, more than a century later, this door still gives us problems. It's stuck, so she does what any of us might do if we're overworked, underpaid, overheated, not feeling well. She let out a good swear, right? In a nice Irish brogue. And later testified for the prosecution that at that moment she heard the laughter of Lizzie Borden coming from behind her. And not just behind her, but up the stairwell in the foyer. Okay? That would put Lizzie not only right outside her own bedroom, but right outside the neighboring guest room with the door wide open, where her stepmother's been dead for about an hour now. You see, Mrs. Borden was the first person to be killed while her husband was out in town. His murder came about 90 minutes after hers, roughly. Lizzie denied ever being on that stairwell. She denied ever giggling, denied the whole thing. There's one account where she says she was in the kitchen, which is the opposite end of the house. Who knows what the truth is, right? But anyway, that door opens. Mr. Borden comes in. He reads the mail. He checks on a few things. And eventually, yes, he settles into that sofa right there for his nap. Now, Lizzie claimed that she helped her father get into position for that nap. She went over here, drew the blinds on the windows, keep the room dark and cool, helped him remove his boots, and then off she went to the backyard for alibi number 2. So Lizzie's second alibi was that she was in the barn, the loft of the barn on the second floor, eating pears that she grabbed off the pear tree in the back. Why she went into that barn in the first place depends when she was asked. Maybe to find fishing equipment for an upcoming trip, or maybe it was to find tin to repair a screen window here in the house. Who knows? But all we know is that 15 minutes had to pass by before Lizzie was drawn back into the home. She said she heard a groan or a scraping sound. Well, that drew her back in, and she comes into the home, walks into this room, and boom, sees her father's body on that sofa. What a shock. If she's innocent. If she's innocent. Then she ran to the back stairwell and called up to Bridget, who'd gone up to take a nap, to go get help. But based on what I told you, you might notice some weird things about this photo. For one, Mr. Borden's wearing his boots. Right? She said she took her father's boots off. This just highlights that there are many, many inconsistencies in this case. Things that don't make sense. Things that are rather circular and lead you back to where you started. It's possible Lizzie's telling the truth. Maybe, she did take her father's boots off, and somebody else put him back on before taking his picture. Maybe she's misremembering, though, too, is another point I want to make. And that's because once Lizzie starts being questioned about all of this, and especially in her inquest testimony, which is the only testimony we have from her, she's under the influence of some drugs. First, something called bromocaffeine. Later, it's up to morphine. So that might be screwing with her ability to recall events as they happened as well. Who gave her the meds? Dr. Bowen from across the street, the family doctor. He came in to save the day and keep Lizzie calm in the aftermath of the murders. So look at Mr. Borden in life, by the way. Very much how he looked the day he was killed here in this room. And the photo tells you a lot about the man. Speaking of famous pictures, there's one of Lizzie up there on... Excuse me. Bless you. There's one of Lizzie up there between the windows. That's a famous picture of her taken after her acquittal. So when you look into those eyes, you're looking into the eyes of a woman who may or may not have killed somebody in this room. And then we got to give love to some Lizzie pop culture stuff. So this here is a dress worn by Elizabeth Montgomery in the 1975 movie The Legend of Lizzie Borden, starring Elizabeth Montgomery, who was also in Bewitched. And we keep that dress behind glass so that way nobody's tempted to try it on in the middle of the night.
Right.
I'm not saying you would, but...
No promises with Jeff.
Yeah. Maybe Jeff.
I like the dress ornaments though. So.
This here...
I love dress wearing while I'm ghost hunting.
This here is called the handleless hatchet. So, a lot of excitement around this hatchet head. It was found in the basement in the days after the murders in this house, and what excited investigators about it was that it appeared to be covered in blood and hair. So you go, how many blood and hair covered hatchets are going to be in a house and not be the murder weapon? Turned out they didn't find anything human on the blade. It was a cow in nature and rust, and in lieu of blood.
I was going to say probably animals,
so they were never able
chickens
to
or
prove
something.
definitively
Cows,
this was the murder weapon. To this day, we don't have proof that it was. So this is a crime without a killer and a crime without a murder weapon. You want to talk about unanswered questions, unfinished business? We've got that in spades here at this house.
Yeah.
If the basics can't even be answered.
Right.
These are original windows. I'll point out to you too. I kind of find this cool. Really, the only original windows that we still have in the house. And Bridget was washing them that day. She washed the windows outside first, and then she came in and was standing right here to wash these very panes. When the call came from the door, Mr. Borden let me in. So, I just love that. You can kind of walk through this house and really touch the history, envision it, which is cool. All the woodwork and doors are original too. So the Bordens touch these things all the time here in the house. And make a mental note of this too. Mr. Borden kept the key right here on the mantle. This was the key to his bedroom door. And before he settled in for that nap that day after coming home, he did go up and use this key one final time to go to his bedroom. We'll talk about that when we get up there. It's St. Mary's Church bells ringing over there. It's an old church, 1852. It goes back to Bridget Sullivan went to church there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's still cooking. We'll begin our ascent. So this part, I always find this really fascinating when we're talking about seeing and touching history. This staircase right here, it's seen a lot. Let's go with, for a second, Lizzie Borden being innocent. Let's just go with that storyline. Lizzie claims she comes in from the outside, finds her father's body on the sofa, and then in shock runs to the back stairwell and calls up to Bridget, the maid, who was now in her third floor bedroom, had gone there to take a rest. "Bridget, come down quick, father's dead. Someone came in and killed him," she shouts. Well, Bridget comes running down those stairs at the back of the house, and Lizzie immediately sends her out to get help through the side door. While she's standing at that side door, Lizzie is seen by her next door neighbor, Mrs. Churchill, who is just getting home from grocery shopping. And Mrs. Churchill leans out her kitchen window and says, "Lizzie, what happened? What's the matter?" And Lizzie replies, "Oh, Mrs. Churchill, do come over. Someone has killed father." Mrs. Churchill takes that invitation, I'm sure with some trepidation, comes into the house, and manages to really avoid looking at Mr. Borden's body. She didn't want to see that. She said, "I just saw him out in town this morning. He looked so nice in his suit. I want to remember him that way." But little does this poor lady know she'll be the one to discover body number 2 in this house. And she does so with Bridget Sullivan, the maid. Now, somebody had asked Lizzie, "This is so horrible about your father, but where is your stepmother? What could have happened to her?" And Lizzie says something that she actually told her father earlier that day when he inquired about the whereabouts of Mrs. Borden. She got a note about a sick friend and went to pay a visit. To this day, we don't have any evidence of this note, no evidence of a sick friend or a telegram being delivered, or anybody to come forward to substantiate this story. But Lizzie adds something to the effect of, "I could have sworn I heard her come in a short while ago, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got to her too." She asks Bridget to go upstairs and check. Well, Bridget's not going up there alone. Hell no. So Mrs. Churchill says, "Don't worry, Bridget, I'll go with you." And so together, these two ladies tiptoe up these very stairs. The only difference is that they were carpeted back then. And when their eyes get level to the landing here, they have a direct view into the guest bedroom across the way. And underneath that bed to the other side, where they definitely see a body. And that's the body of Mrs. Borden. So as you come up these stairs, look through the railing underneath the bed the same way they did, and you'll see into the room exactly the way they did that day, to turn this horrific story into something even more horrifying.
Oh. Yeah.
Who's sleeping in here tonight?
Connor was gonna.
I was going to, and then I saw the picture next to the bed, and I changed my mind.
Connor, wise sage.
Sagely advised from the great and mighty Connor.
This
Maybe
is
not.
probably our most popular.
Maybe
it is
not.
our most popular bedroom. No question about it. Especially during the anniversary of the murders every year, usually through Halloween. Some people will book it for that time years in advance, which is crazy. And some people will even book this room and this nice little bed we have here, only to decide they want to sleep on the floor in this spot.
That's strange.
Yeah, that's a word for it. But this
most
is the spot
peculiar
right here where
behavior.
Mrs. Borden was
Some
found
people
dead.
have an interesting sense
Right
of
here.
humor.
Now, what was she doing up here? Mrs. Borden came up into this room to make up the bedroom. Uncle John had slept here the night before the murders, and the plan was he was going to stay again. So, Mrs. Borden, come on up, freshen up
a
the
little
room.
bit, give him a place to
And
rest
she's
for a
got
night again.
linens
Yeah.
out and a yardstick. Like, she's measuring this bed hardcore. She wants everything to be perfect when her killer walks in. Walks into the room the way we just did. Now, the fact that there were no defensive wounds found on Mrs. Borden suggests to people she didn't feel threatened by this person. At least not right away, at least not until it was too late. Maybe the killer, whoever they were, it was normal to see them in the house or in this part of the house.
Or
this
having
time
to
of day.
sneak in unawares.
Maybe they had the weapon concealed behind their back or under something. All we know is that when the killer gets to right about where you're standing, they take that weapon out and clock Mrs. Borden across the face. The first blow sends the skin along her cheek peeling back to the ear. They actually called it the flap wound. And that blow, so shocking, so mighty, not only does that damage, it sends Mrs. Borden down onto the floor face first. And we believe she hit that floor hard, like with her face. No real bracing for that. And we also have evidence that she wasn't quite dead right away. You almost wish that it had taken her right out. Didn't. Mrs. Borden tried to get away. Now, if you're in a room with a killer who is now blocking your path this way, and you've got a bed blocking you this way, what might you do to try to escape?
Crawl under the bed.
Crawl under the bed. Mrs. Borden did try to crawl under the bed. She didn't make it very far, and the killer, noticing this, came around, straddled the body, and laid down 18 more blows. One of them hit her shoulder blades, but 17 hit the head itself, the back, and then the right side. If you look at her skull downstairs, you see how big the opening is here. And that's because of those blows. When she was pulled up from the carpet later that day, she was soaked in blood from her head all the way down to her waist. This was brutal. Double the blows that her husband got. Right? So she's killed first, and she got almost double the whacks. This is the work of somebody who's very angry. This feels very personal, too.
Right.
No question about it.
Very much so. Someone was
So she has
very,
crime
very
scene photos
frustrated.
just like her husband. The crime scene photos are not what we think of crime scene photos today, right? You go to a crime scene now, you take the pictures before you touch anything. It was almost the opposite back then. These are taken late in the day after, investigators and God knows how many people had rifled through the house and propped up the bodies, inspected the wounds. So she's been kind of set back into place here, pulled out from under the bed slightly and laid out flat. That's actually not a skirt around Mrs. Borden's waist there. That's a sheet that the photographer had laid down to cover her legs. It creates the illusion that she's on her knees, but she's actually flat on the ground on her stomach. There's a better view of this over here, where you can actually see the blood coagulating around her head. Little personal details too. Reflected in the mirror is the camera that took the picture, and we've got one of those in the corner of this bedroom as well. So what of the uncle, John Morse? By the way, he's pictured between the windows over there. John Morse, he was the brother of Lizzie's birth mother, and he lived out west, but he'd come here to the East Coast every now and then to do business. He's a bit of an odd duck in some ways. He left here in the morning before either murder had occurred. Mr. Borden saw him out. And then he gets back here to the Borden property around 11:40 a.m. By now, it's obvious something's going on here. Rather than come into the house, Mr. Morse goes into the backyard, grabs a couple pears off the pear tree, just like his niece Lizzie, and eats them, seemingly not too excited or eager to come into the home. A cop actually ends up talking to him, informing him about what went down. He is considered a suspect at first. But he says something to the effect of, "Look at me as a man of common sense. Could I stand before you presenting the appearance I do now, having just committed 2 acts of butchery?" And you look at the guy, and the cops did back then, and they go, "Yeah, good point, man. You're all set. You're free to go." I'm simplifying it here, but he's got an airtight alibi. He can tell you where he was, what he was doing, who he was with all morning long, pretty much. He has this bizarre account of riding a streetcar in this city, and 6 priests got on to the streetcar with him. Well, cops went back, interviewed the driver of that streetcar. He said he didn't remember this John Morse fellow, but he remembered the priests. Things like that, good enough for the cops once they checked it out.
Right.
Nevertheless, people come here and still very suspicious about John and what he may or may not have known to this day. And his name does come up in some of the paranormal investigations.
Though it is sus that they remember the priests, not anybody else.
Quite frequently, to be honest with you. There's
one girl
story
who's
I read
shut up
about
so she
Uncle
can't
John.
keep her timeline
Said
straight.
he
You
was a
got
big
another
believer
guy
in
who's
paranormal.
saying he witnessed things,
And,
but no one
a
seems
few
to have
months or
seen
so
him there.
before the murders here, he visited a fortune teller with some friends. Fortune teller went down the line, told all of their fortunes. And when it came time to tell his, she packed up and headed for the door and said, I cannot tell your fortune. It's much too dark." You wonder what she was referring to. But yes, John Morse will watch you sleep if you ever take this room. His portrait is directly in front of the bed. So, it's a nice little touch for you.
I brought my bag in here, wheeled it in. I looked at that picture, and I looked at what it's sitting on, and then the bed, then the ground. I'm like, yeah, not a chance. I'm sleeping in here.
Yeah, hey.
You should really sleep in here.
I think you should sleep in
go
here.
for it,
Man,
man.
this is the place.
You guys.
Oh.
You two can share the master suite.
Well,
I guess.
Right.
Keep the
I don't know
cameras
how
on.
persuasive I'm being in terms of like saying, "Hey, you should totally sleep in here," though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably not that.
There's a fireplace.
There is. So before Mr. Borden moved into this house, it was a 2-family home. The Fall River was a city full of multi-family homes. And so the build was 1 family on the first floor, another family on the second. When Mr. Borden came into the house in 1872, having paid $10,000 for the home, he decided to make this a single family once again. And so what that meant was some alterations had to be made. This would have been the front parlor of that second floor residence, which explains why there was a fireplace here. But Mr. Borden put a bed right up against that fireplace, called it a day. Sometimes people come here and they hey, that's a fireplace. What are you doing covering that up? And we go, it's what Mr. Borden did. It's what he wanted. So, where 1872 rules apply to the home. Oh, by the way, bathrooms. We have them now. The Bordens did not have bathrooms. They had chamber pots in their bedrooms and an outhouse out by the barn. So not the most luxurious option. But any bathroom you see today was storage space. This one right here was Lizzie and Emma's closet. So you walk into that room and you'll see how big the space is for all their dresses and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's a lot of dresses.
A lot of dresses. Yeah.
Must have been some hanging rods you took down in there.
This is the room I opted.
Probably put it up the shower curtain with
there
it.
you go.
There you go.
Hopefully it's better.
Well, this is Lizzie Borden's bedroom.
Oh, you just can't win tonight, can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is this where you're staying?
Yeah.
This is Lizzie's room. This is her
Why not?
retreat. This is her sanctuary in a home where she was not always happy. And it's also where she spent a good chunk of August 4th, 1892, once the home downstairs had started to fill up with cops and doctors and medical examiners and the like. She came up here and shut herself in. Lizzie is the kid sister to Emma. Emma was about 41 at the time of the murders. Lizzie was 32. They'd lived here a good chunk of their lives, 20 years at this point. You'll notice this room is big, and the one right next door to it here is tiny. That was Emma's bedroom. Now, you go, isn't the older sister supposed to have the bigger bedroom? Well, she did for many, many years, until about 2 years before the murders. That year, 1890, Lizzie went on her grand tour of Europe. This was a 19-week trip fully funded by her father, Mr. Borden, right? So even though he was known as a bit of a penny pincher. He could spend money where he saw fit, right? It's not all black and white with him.
Right.
Lizzie came back with a lot of stuff. Trunks full of souvenirs, so much stuff. And she put a bug in her sister's ear. Hey, can we switch rooms, right? I can picture her saying, you've got all that space, you've got the natural light, you've got that beautiful case in the corner. Can I have your room? They swapped rooms. Emma took the tiny room. And that was that. Now, that was like Emma to do, okay? This here is baby Emma on the lap of her and Lizzie's birth mother, Sarah Anthony Morse Borden. Sarah died when Lizzie was just 2 years old. Lizzie was a baby. She doesn't remember her birth mother. The cause of death was uterine congestion and spinal disease. But Emma was old enough to remember their birth mother. And apparently on her deathbed, Emma made a promise to Sarah that she would always look after baby Lizzie. So I think Emma made that part of her identity, probably in part in tribute to her mother. And even though she was an older sister, she did take on quite a maternal role for Lizzie as they grew up. And if making Lizzie happy meant switching rooms, even though it's a big pain in the butt, I'll do it. So there you have it. This is Lizzie and Emma, roughly around the time of the murders, they're sharing this space. You notice, though, to get into that side room over there, you've got to walk through this room. So there's not a whole heck of a lot of privacy between the sisters, ever. You know, no real secrets between them, or they'd keep from each other, as far as I can see. And then that brings us to this doorway here. To be determined if that's ghosts or just an old piece of furniture. That's new for me. That's not been happening. But anyway, here we have this doorway here. Now, I bring this up because today it's wide open and we can pass right through. But back in Lizzie's day, this functioned as a wall, right? It was locked on both sides. Lizzie's bed was kitty-cornered coming out this way. This separated her room from the master room where her father and stepmother slept. And locking things up in this house was a very, very important thing, especially in the year or so preceding the murders. I'll tell you about that in the next room. We can head that way. Beep, beep. We've made it to the master suite. This is Mr. and Mrs. Borden's bedroom. And they're separated by a wall from Lizzie's room. Her bed would have been on the other side of the door over there. And so sometimes I wonder, when she kind of rested her head on the pillow at night, what was she hearing? Was she hearing any conversation between husband and wife? Was she hearing anything about finances, about plans for estates and, you know, all that kind of stuff? You know, it's pure speculation. I don't know. I wonder a little bit, but I do think about it from time to time. I like this room because, well, selfishly, if you like having your own bathroom, it's the only room in the house where you get your own bathroom. Pretty good. But it's also the scene of another crime that played out in this home. So about a year before the murders, somebody broke into this house in broad daylight, and they put kind of like a pin in the keyhole there at the door, got in, came upstairs, and the only items they took were from right here in this space, specifically the room adjoining the master suite. Today it's a bedroom, so this one right over there. Today it's a bedroom, but back in the Borden's day, it was Mrs. Borden's dressing room and Mr. Borden's office. And stolen were about $70 to $80, trolley tickets, coins, I think some jewelry, little things like that. Mr. Borden got in touch with the police, launched an investigation. They couldn't find the person responsible for this. Well, around that time, though, it said that Mr. Borden becomes really concerned with locking things up in the house, and he installs a lock on his bedroom door, and he keeps the key to that bedroom door down on the fireplace mantle in the sitting room. Why? We don't entirely know, but we speculate, some of us do, that maybe he's sending a message to folks under his roof saying, I kind of have a feeling it was one of you who did me dirty, messing with me, and I dare you to go ahead and do it again. There's the key, help yourself, that kind of thing. We just don't know. What we do know is that this room tends to be a generator of activity for us in the house during investigations. All rooms are, but this one comes up over and over again. We'll have folks sleep in here and say they felt their sheets being messed with in the middle of the night, felt somebody standing over them, watching them, saw a mist or a shadow out in the hallway or on the stairwell just on the other side. And we'll even have people say they see a woman standing in the window over here, which looks out into our parking lot. I believe somebody even captured what they believe to be a face in that window one night as well. So you never know what you're going to get here at the house. I do want to point out to you, we don't have many pictures of Mrs. Borden in life, but here she is. That's Abby Borden. Oh yeah, sorry about that. That's Abby Borden right here. This is the stepmother who was killed here in the house. And for reasons undetermined, we have her sitting next to her best buddy, Lizzie Borden, there on the dresser. This is the A.J. Borden building. This is a monument, really, to Mr. Borden's wealth. He built this place in 1889 for $35,000 and put it smack dab in the busiest crossroads of the downtown and put his name on it, A.J. Borden. Might seem a little pompous, but I think knowing that Mr. Borden came from nothing, worked his way up in this world, he felt he'd earned his place. He'd earned his keep here in the city. Didn't get to enjoy this property for very long. He died just a few years later. After his death, Lizzie Borden became the owner of the A.J. Borden building, which still stands today here in Fall River. Now, I think we can head upstairs, which is my favorite floor.
The next floor, the attic.
But by the way, too, I myself, I'll tell you this too. So, I'm not a big seer of things, right? I've never had anybody fully materialize on me here in the house. I don't think that's how it works in reality anyway. But in this room, I have seen a lot of things out of the corner of my eye. I came up here one night to check on something for a guest who had not yet arrived, and I'm standing right here, and out of my peripheral, I saw a black mass just shoot across the doorway over here in that room. 2 nights later, during an investigation in this house, we ended up in this room, and all of our devices were lighting up and going crazy right there in that back corner. So whatever's going on in there, I'm not entirely sure, but there's something going on in there.
In that room?
This one, yeah. This is
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that was Mr. Borden's office. So that was a very important place. Up we go.
Mr. Borden's office is the center point of the activity.
This humble little space was Bridget's room. And you've already realized you have to watch your head up here. Slanted ceilings were up at the top of the house at this point. And even though this is really kind of cute and cozy, it wasn't always this way, especially when Bridget was here. It would have been darker, it would have been a bit drab, you would have had planks on the floor, not a lot in the way of carpeting or comforts. It would have been cold up here in the winter and hot up here in the summer. Not very glamorous at all. But here, Bridget Sullivan, the maid, could get some peace and quiet when she wasn't working for the family, going up and down those stairs a million times a day. Bridget had come up here to take a little rest around the time that Mr. Borden was killed downstairs, and she's lying in bed here when she hears Lizzie make the call, "Bridget, come down quick, father's dead." Not a lot of pictures of Bridget either. Here's one of her in her younger days. Not the most flattering image, but it's the only one we have of her as a younger person. But about 13 years ago, her nieces came to visit us here at the house. And they brought with them some photos that we got to keep. And here they are. These are photos of Bridget Sullivan later in life. Bridget is the longest living member of this whole affair. She died in 1948 when she was 82 years old. And if she knew exactly what went down in this house, she took it with her to her grave. We don't have any hard proof that she, came out and spilled the beans or, kind of gave her 2 cents. She never talked about Lizzie after this whole ordeal was over. She moved out to Montana, met a guy named John Sullivan, and lived the rest of her life there. Never had any kids of her own, but her nieces remembered her as a rather stern old woman. To use their words, they even called her mean. One of them called her a bit mean. She was going blind toward the end of her life. And if you brought up Lizzie Borden around her, you would know never to do it again. She wasn't going to have it at all. So Bridget remains a mystery to us in many respects, too. She's buried out there in the town of Anaconda, Montana.
Oh, we were there. We were there like 2 months ago. In Anaconda.
Anaconda, Montana.
Anaconda, we filmed there.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's a tiny town.
That's where she is.
That's where we tried to get the microphone.
So Bridget would have had this view. It's now our parking lot in the backyard, but she could see out across the neighborhood through the window here. But then there's plenty more attic to go, and a bit of a darker story to tell you too. So we'll go over here.
We like dark stories.
We like dark stories around here.
Darkness up in here.
So we're gonna head back into these 2 rooms over here. Again, these are all places where people can stay the night. This room here in the dark is named after Lizzie's attorney, Andrew Jennings, one of her attorneys. He never slept here, but we have a little space devoted to him up here in the house. And this back room is called the Knowlton room. That's named for the prosecutor in the case, who obviously was the losing side. But the room is also often referred to as the children's room. So I'll tell you why. We'll head in. And again, watch your heads. So this is where the other Borden tragedy comes into play. Back in 1848, in the home that stands directly next door to ours, a man named Ludwig Borden lived. That was Mr. Borden's uncle. And he lived there with his second wife, Eliza Darling Borden. And together, they were raising 3 children in that house. You had Maria, who was about 3 or 4. You had Eliza Ann, who was the middle child at about 2, and a baby boy named Holder. Well, one day, Eliza, the mother, snapped. She brought her children down to the cellar of the home next door, and one by one, she dropped them in, leaving them to drown. And when she was done, she grabbed her husband's straight razor, put it to her throat, and ended her own life. Now, as horrible as the story is, it kind of faded into the background until Lizzie went on trial for the murders of her father and stepmother in this house. You know, the argument the prosecution tried to make was, hey, you know, madness runs in the family. Right? Lizzie's a chip off the old block, but that argument got tossed out the window because, well, her aunt, her great aunt Eliza, was a Borden by marriage, not by blood.
Right.
And therefore we can't claim that Lizzie inherited anything directly from that woman whatsoever. It was further revealed, though, that the oldest daughter, Maria, was somehow spared the fate of her younger siblings. She got away, she lived, and grew up to be as happy and as healthy an adult as she could in this city, raised a kid of her own. No signs of madness with her. But her siblings were not that fortunate. They never got to leave here. They never got to grow up. They never got to grow old. They never got to make memories beyond the confines of this property. And so we believe that they're still very much here today. And not just in the home where they were killed, but here in this house too. And that's why we refer to this as the children's room. This tends to be where we pick up on a ton of child activity. People who sleep here at night will hear kids running around, kids playing and laughing. They'll hear or see doorknobs jiggle. Some people sleeping in this room will even feel their feet and legs played with or lifted up out of bed. We had a woman who stayed with us about a month ago who said somebody was booping her nose all night up on this floor. She said it felt playful, it didn't feel scary. But one person's playful is another person's scary, right? It might not be the same for everybody. There are kids here in the house, for sure. I've witnessed that energy myself. There's a toy chest here in the room. And people will go, oh, isn't that nice? You guys fill that up. We don't. People bring stuff from everywhere who already know this story, and they leave gifts for these children. And sometimes, yes, somebody will check in, and they'll come back from dinner, and that ball or that rubber duck isn't where they remember having left it. And so what will happen are arguments between husband and wife or sisters and brothers, that kind of thing. And then in the morning, we'll have guests from complete opposite ends of the house argue with each other over the breakfast table about who was making all the noise last night in the house. Was it you? I thought it was you guys. No, that had to have been you. We were trying to sleep. Kind of thing happens pretty regularly. Now, attached to this story about the children is an energy in our basement. So I'll bring you there next to tell you about that. But
The
I don't know if
basement.
you want to get this or not. It's just
Stay out of the basement.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that. What is that?
So the plaque reads, "At this spot, August 6, 1995, R. Evans, Souza, and Quigley found 2 dead pigeons." Now you go, okay, you find pigeons in a house, upstairs, whoop-de-doo. I think the reason that plaque is there is because pigeons play into the Lizzie Borden story as well. It's a weird story, right? They have the barn in the backyard. Apparently there were pigeons back there, and Mr. Borden killed them. Lizzie testified by twisting their heads off. But you have people, right, who don't have a lot of information and want to fill in the gaps. And some folks out there theorize Mr. Borden killed Lizzie's pigeons and she got him back for it. No evidence to suggest that these pigeons were Lizzie's pets. They were more likely kept as livestock. But nevertheless, finding a couple of dead pigeons here in the house felt a bit ominous, I'm sure, to the people who were first to see them.
That would be super cool to see that after hearing that.
So we're gonna go downstairs, and I bring groups down here all the time, and 9 times out of 10, it's too much for at least one person, right? There'll be somebody who goes, I gotta get out of here, or I feel heavy all of a sudden, I feel nauseous, I feel like there are cobwebs all over me, I've gotta get out. The sense seems to be that whatever's down here is different energy from what you get in the rest of the house. And what that is exactly, I'm not sure, but we'll go downstairs, and there's a few key areas I want to show you down here. Let's watch your steps. There are 3 key areas of the basement to point out to you. This is referred to as the under the hatchet room here in the house.
Oh.
And that's because it's directly under the spot where Mr. Borden was killed. And when he died, there was blood, and a good chunk of it actually spilled right down into the floor. It cascaded down from his head wounds into the carpet, soaked through the floorboards, and dripped down here into what used to be a dirt floor right here in the basement. To this day, there are traces of what happened to Mr. Borden in the floorboards. And it's right up here.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
right there.
That's
Right, that
that's his blood.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Still here, all these years later, which is
That stuff doesn't just go away.
Mind-bending. This room is kind of set up with some chairs and stuff. We use this for investigations regularly, and this, to me, it feels like a bit of a portal in the house. Just crazy exchanges of energy in here. This is the room where people do tend to start feeling sick, and I have to usher them out or go get them water or what have you. This is where our devices tend to go crazy. I've heard knocking in here before that I can't explain. And not just old pipes making noises in winter. It's like deliberate, quick hits, consistent 3 or 2 at a time, depending if we want a yes or no answer. So I love this room.
This room it's got a bit of a dizzying effect to it. I don't know if you guys feel that at all, or if I'm going crazy.
There's this story. I could have some of the details wrong about a guy. This home remained a private residence after the murders here. People lived here and went on with their lives. And there's a story, I think, in the mid-20th century of a guy who was going to have some work done on a wall. And he figured, it's a perfect time to play a joke on some of the construction crew. So he hid a hatchet in a wall that he knew was going to be taken apart. And sure enough, guy goes in, finds that hatchet, and goes crazy. He goes, I can't believe it, I found the murder weapon. And he apparently let him believe it for like a half hour or something before he told him the truth. Yeah. Kind of a bummer. So we'll head, this is kind of an awkward configuration just because we use it for storage as well, but this back corner here, people, if they're sensitive, will have a hard time back here for more than a couple of minutes because they take on the emotions of the spirit that we believe to be here. And that would be the spirit of Eliza Darling Borden, the mother from next door. We have gotten her name, first, middle, and last, time and time again. And we've had what we believe to be intelligent communication with whatever's back here. Flashlights going on and off at our command, REM pods lighting up, doing their thing. Not to mention the feelings that people take on back here. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff here at the moment, but I'd say it's definitely worth your time to spend a little bit of time in this back part of the basement. We're also in the area where that handleless hatchet was found, that everyone believed to be the murder weapon, but was never proven so. So people sometimes want to know what that was all about and where it was. Yeah, cops were down here digging around, and one guy thinking he'd struck it big said, "Aha, I found it." Of course, that balloon would be deflated later on, like a lot of other balloons. But and now the other part of the basement I want to show you. Turning around the cattle car. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
That way you're not laughing. So I want to set a scene for you. The night of the murders, as hectic as it was, Lizzie Borden spent the night here. And her best friend Alice Russell had come over from just around the corner to be a good pal and stay with Lizzie, make sure she was okay. Well, around 9:30 or so that night, they see the last police officer out the front door. And shortly thereafter, they come down here into the basement, holding kerosene lamps. Now, a police officer patrolling the yard for the night could see this take place. He's watching through these very windows. And he sees Lizzie and Alice make their way right over here to this spot. In this spot, there was a toilet. You know, not the way we'd think of one today, but they had another option down here in the basement. So the officer kind of says, okay, I'm not going to be weird. I'm going to let them do their thing. And they do. And then they go back upstairs. But about 15 minutes later, that officer sees in the darkness of this basement another light. And it's coming down the stairs. And this time it's Lizzie Borden alone, holding that lantern to her face. And rather than come over here where she was before, Lizzie ends up crossing the basement, heads to the other side. And this rings alarm bells for this officer. He goes, what is she doing? She was just here. He wants to see what she's doing. And so around the perimeter of the house, he follows her until he makes it to the back window. So we'll walk in her footsteps that way over here.
Very interesting.
The gaming chairs weren't here back then. But there was a sink over here in this corner. And that's where Lizzie goes. The cop watching now through these back windows sees Lizzie at that sink, and he's thinking to himself, what is she doing? He can't see what she's doing. Now, it could have been totally innocent, right? Could have been nothing to write home about. But he finds it odd. He wonders, what is she doing now alone that she could not do in front of her best friend 15 minutes ago? A secret. And he jots it down in his notebook, and that closes day one with suspicion now firmly fixed on Lizzie Borden. And the cops, kind of among themselves, are talking back and forth to each other. There's something about that girl, they'll say. There's something about that Lizzie Borden. I can't quite put my finger on it. And eventually they come to their conclusion that she committed the murders. And they charge her for them. To get over to this sink, Lizzie had to sidestep or walk around the bloody clothing of the victims, which had been dumped here on the floor where you stand temporarily until it would eventually be buried in the backyard, because that's what they did with the clothing back then. But I imagine her navigating that. How do you do it? How do you walk past it or over it or around it? Then again, Lizzie, medicated, maybe not in her right mind when all of this is happening too, right? There's always another situation. This is sort of the washroom area of the basement. What's extra cool is this wall right here. This is an original wall, and this hole right here, original as well. It's where the Bordens would have done some of their washing. We've got a pipe right here that would have let in rainwater. And the belief is that they would use that water for some of their household scrubbing and whatnot. But what's significant to us about this little area is what's on the back wall. And it might be something that you're able to pick up on camera. And I wonder if we're seeing it now. There. Well, if you don't see it now, I'll tell you later on. Give it a whirl. There is something on this back wall that gives people the creeps. And I've seen people have just about enough at this point of the tour sometimes. Well, they'll go, thank you, I'm going to go out and wait in my car for the rest of my family.
That looks like a skull.
There's a face in that wall for sure, yeah.
You can see it very well.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Let me see.
Uh-huh.
2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth.
Now, of course, we're wired. We're wired to see human faces and things, but this one seems to not require a lot of work to see. It's there, and they've tried to get rid of it. They tried to scrub it away, paint over it, wash it away. It's just there. Some see a man, some see a woman. I tend to see a man in that wall, you know. Be curious to know what you see.
I see a skeleton face.
I almost see a bit of a beard here on the chin, which makes
Maybe
me
a
feel
beard?
like it's Mr. Borden. Kind of keeping an eye on things down here in the basement. Yeah.
Eerie. That is creepy.
And then down here, you notice some paw prints. So these always remind me of the fact that I'm pretty sure we have a ghost cat here at the house. Especially down here in the basement. I've had people feel like an animal just brushed up against their legs. I've had people hear meowing or see a cat out of the corner of their eye, a black cat. For many years, there was a cat in residence here at the home named Max Borden, who passed away, unfortunately, just a couple of years ago. I had the opportunity to know him. He was a good little fellow. And so, I don't know, I'm a bit comforted by the thought that maybe Max is
R.I.P.
among
Max.
the inhabitants of the house still, or at least comes in to check on things every now and then, since he kind of ruled the roost around here. Yeah. Might get some animals. That leaves us with the kitchen. So we can head up there. I want to show you the kitchen too.
The kitchen.
You know, the kitchen, it's probably the most modern room that we have in the house, right?
Because
you know, changes made.
for stuff.
And that's
especially
simply
for
because
workers,
people
etc.,
lived here for a long time after the murders took place. We only opened to the public as a museum and a B&B in 1996. So it hasn't been that long. But history happened here in this room too. In this room, Lizzie Borden burned a dress. And this comes up in people discussing her guilt or innocence, right? Lizzie grabbed a dress out of the closet that we have here in the corner of the kitchen. And she unfurled it, and she showed it to her sister, Emma, who was over by the sink. And she said, hey, should I just burn this old thing? It's covered in paint, reddish-brown paint. And Emma goes, yeah, why don't you go ahead and burn it? Now, back then, you could burn clothing, you could bury it, you could cut it up and use it for rags, right? Reuse. So it's not really that concerning that Lizzie burned a dress, but I find the timing of it to be interesting. This is the day after Lizzie learned she was a suspect in the murders. Why now? Well, Lizzie gets to work and starts burning that dress up, when into the room walks her best friend, Alice Russell, who had been staying here at the house. Alice is the one to say to Lizzie, hey, you know, probably not a good idea to burn a dress right now. I wouldn't be seen doing that if I were you. But nevertheless, Lizzie finished the job. She burned that dress up, and we don't have it to look at. So when it came time for the trial and people talking about the dress, all we have to go on are the stories. We don't have anything to look at,
And
nothing concrete. And that's that.
But hearsay.
But even though Lizzie was
Hearsay.
acquitted, do you think she and Alice are going to be friends after this whole ordeal? Probably not. And that's because Alice pretty much ratted out Lizzie Borden. She got a guilty conscience about it, and you know, I think even though she believed in her friend's innocence, she didn't want this weighing on her chest. And she said, I saw evidence that Lizzie burned a dress in the house. Well, that gets out, and we're not besties anymore after that. I think that'd be the last straw for me too, probably. What's interesting about Alice is just the night before the murders, Lizzie paid a visit to Alice at her house around the corner, around 7:30 p.m. And she proceeded to dump on her for like 2.5 to 3 hours. We all have that friend that will unload on you when they've had a stressful day or a week. Lizzie did that and then some that night. She said she felt like something terrible was going to happen. She felt like her father had many enemies, and she wouldn't be surprised if somebody did something. And she sleeps at night with her eyes half open for fear they'll burn the house down around her. And then the next day, the murders happen here in this house. So you wonder, is that Lizzie like preparing for something? Or is she expressing genuine concern and just happened to have the bad fortune of that horrible thing happening the next day? Just don't know. A couple of interesting notes about the end of Lizzie's life that I want to point out to you. And that will require me to go around you.
Okay.
Another place that you might want to drive by tomorrow if you have time is Lizzie's second home. And that was a place she called Maplecroft. So after the murders, Lizzie comes back home. And she and Emma pretty much immediately get to work figuring out their next move, which is, let's take the money and move to the hill. Let's move to the nice part of town. Let's get out of here. So they do that. They find a home over on French Street here in the city, and they move into it pretty quickly. And it's this home right here. And they live there together for about 12 years until 1905. And that year, the sisters had a falling out with each other.
Oh.
Over what? We don't know. You know, there are various theories about what could have happened and why. All we know is that they pretty much stopped talking to each other, and we believe they never saw or spoke to each other again. Emma moved out, bopped around for a bit, and then ended up settling in New Hampshire. Lizzie stayed at Maplecroft. Happily ever after? Who knows? We're not in Lizzie Borden's head, but she did seem to have a good life with a good close circle of friends, right? Life was not going to be the same for Lizzie Borden after her acquittal, because most people in the city thought she'd gotten away with murder, which is what a lot of people still think today. That classic Lizzie Borden rhyme, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks, she would have heard that in her own life. She would have heard kids jumping rope to it outside, throwing rocks and dirt at her windows. She knew who she was in the community. But she had a little circle of people that she trusted. And she loved them, and she loved animals. This picture right here, we didn't know existed until about, I want to say, 12, 13 years ago, with a publication of a book from the Fall River Historical Society called Parallel Lives. In it was published this photo, and this is Lizzie Borden on the back porch of Maplecroft with her Boston Terrier, Laddie Miller Borden. And it paints a different picture of Lizzie Borden, doesn't it? It shows this sweet, kind of older woman doting on her precious four-legged friend. 1916, Lizzie would have been in her mid-50s at this point. Lizzie was very generous. She gave to charity. She gave to the animal shelter here in the city. She gave to the people who worked for her and their families. Very, very kind and thoughtful and giving, which is at odds with the picture we have of her. One thing I always think about is it possible for Lizzie to have been this sweet, generous person in the latter half of her life and still have committed the murders here that day? Totally possible, but it's hard for me to
I guess it is possible, but it's just very unlikely to have a sweet little baby like that
June 1st,
come out of a hateful, vengeful girl like that.
She'd had a series of health problems. And she requested in her will that she be laid at the feet of her father at Oak Grove Cemetery. And so today, Lizzie is buried directly beside the two people she was accused of killing in this house, per her wishes. And buried with her is her sister Emma, 9 years older than Lizzie. She died 9 days after Lizzie. And buried with all of the Bordens are the answers to the questions that we still have about what happened here. These are answers that we may never get in reality through, documents, through people coming forward, through a smoking gun. But they're answers that we really do try to get by connecting with the energy in this house. And maybe someday we'll have a complete picture. Until then, who knows? Yeah, so there you have it. Oh, by the way, so this is up near Boston. This is a grave for her dogs.
Wow.
So she,
All the
she was the
Borden
type
puppers.
to go to the pet cemetery. I'm going to bury my pets at the pet cemetery. So that's how much she loved her animals, right? So that's
How
up
can
there
you hate
in,
a sweet old lady like
Dedham, just
that?
outside of Boston.
So
It
who do
really
you
does
think
kind of slap in the face of what people think of her
The
being a
$1 million
murderer.
question. Who do I think did it? I think most of the time, as I walk through this house and go through what we know, that Lizzie Borden did the murders, or at least had a hand in them. I see it being very difficult for her to not at least have some knowledge about what was going down that day. You know, she was home. The doors were locked. She's got alibis that nobody else can back up. I see her potentially having motive, right? But maybe a conspiracy of some kind, right? I'm not beyond thinking that maybe Lizzie and the uncle, or Lizzie and her sister, or Bridget maybe had some kind of, you know, plan that they put together. Just don't know. I just don't know. And the longer I work here, as odd as it sounds, the less I care to know. For me, what's so appealing about this place is not the promise that we're going to solve it, but the mystery itself. It's walking in these people's footsteps, trying to put myself in their shoes and imagine what their lives and deaths were like. But if you happen to crack the case while you're here and write a book and make a lot of money off of it, I want maybe just like a fifth of the proceeds or something. That's it, yeah. You know?
It's a smidgen, you know?
That's all I want.
There's a little bit of reputation for this.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say.
I was going to say, what are the most active rooms in the house, would you say?
I'm aware of activity happening in just about every room of the house. I'll tell you that the sitting room where Mr. Borden died, it certainly seems to be active. The bedroom where Mrs. Borden died is active for folks as well. And the children's room up on the 3rd floor tends to be where we get a lot of action. But, you know, I could tell you about stuff that happens everywhere. Like, you know, this is the door to the dining room, and I've been here in the kitchen alone preparing some stuff, and I've seen and heard this doorknob turn like this. I've heard tapping on the other side of it when no one was there. I've been standing here, I've heard footsteps above me, walking back and forth, pacing, that kind of thing. I was in the dining room a few weeks ago, and we felt like we were talking to somebody who was running out of energy, right? And they needed energy. And so I told them, you can take the energy from me if you need it. You can take the energy from my devices. I give you permission, because I'd already set my boundaries and all that. And at that exact moment, I felt like a pull in my left arm, like something being yanked out of it. And then the spirit box right next to us just shouting out the words, energy, energy. Energy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's pretty
you know,
wild, actually.
I mean, I could say specific rooms, or I could just say the whole house has a vibe going on, and you never quite know, you know, which one will be active on a given night, other than to say you just gotta go try, see what happens.
Right.
Yeah. Point out.
I was only going to ask, if I remember, the children.
Yeah.
The children, are they the children from next door? Or are they children? Who are the children upstairs?
Well, I believe that at the very least that we have the children from next door. In my experience here at the house, I've seen us get information that points to it being them. The talk of drowning, talk of water, talk of next door, and even their own names. But there are other children here too. And I don't know where they came from, why they're here, if they're just passing through. But we've gotten other children. In fact, we had somebody on a thermal camera once pick up 4 little faces at the bottom of the basement stairs.
I have a thermal camera. Good one.
There you go. Yeah.
Bring that
bottom of the
son of a
basement
gun in.
stairs. Like if you're going down the
Apparently they
basement
make
and you're
temperature
peeking around the
changes
corner,
visible.
that's sort of like what they were doing.
Okay.
And then they were gone like that. Yeah. You know, I also, the longer I work here, seem to think that we have a bit of a trickster spirit in the house too. So
wouldn't surprise me.
we've got legitimate spirits, but we've also got one who likes to get a rise out of people, at least one, who will lead you to believe that they're somebody when they're not. And the reason I know that is because eventually the conversation you're having with them completely falls apart, and they'll start laughing at you, call you names even. I've been called stupid a time or two. Yeah, I hear you, bud. I know, man. So that'll happen. And then we get a lot of crosstalk too. I feel like there's sometimes so much energy here in the house that there's an excitement among them to try to be the dominant spirit. And so what you get is chaos. But I mean, you guys haven't done this enough now. I feel like you're able to kind of maybe wrangle and set boundaries about who you want to talk to and when. But that's a thing too.
To a degree, I would assume,
and then,
yeah.
what's the name we were just getting last week? The name Stephen comes up over and over and over in this house, and I still have not been able to figure out why. Stephen comes up quite a bit. As for Lizzie being here at the house, I don't believe that she's here all the time, but she does come in and make appearances every now and then. We'll get Lizzie, her name. And actually, when that happens too, the whole room will take on a different tone. Like, when she's there, if that makes sense. It's just it's a shift kind of thing.
Any final words?
Final words.
Any advice?
Last words. You guys have this already, but it helps to have an open mind in this house. No question about it. It helps to think big, because while you're here to immerse yourselves in the Borden story, energy is energy, and it's everywhere. And you never quite know who's going to stop in and try to communicate with you.
And what's going to reach out through that energy.
Could be something that has nothing to do with the Bordens.
Is it just going to be the energy itself doing things?
Your energy,
is it going to be
while you're here in the house,
actual
set
souls
firm
using said energy to finally reach out and make communication again? Who
of
knows?
course, be respectful to them, but let them know what you are and are not willing to tolerate. You can do what I always do when I leave here. I get to the end of the driveway, and I say, thank you, but you have to stay. Please don't follow me home. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but I believe it does. And and just enjoy yourselves. This is a rare chance to go back to the year 1892 here in this house, right? You can't seek refuge in the TV. We don't have one. We don't have one. It's just you and your thoughts.
The only big mechanical thing here is the fridge. Good luck around here, kids.
And maybe you leave a quarter behind for
at least you have some fresh food.
That tends to help. You'll notice in some of the bedrooms that there's change on the dressers, and so people will ask about that sometimes, and we go, oh yeah, that people who stay the night will sometimes leave a coin behind as a way of saying not only thank you, but please leave me alone. Don't follow me home.
There you go. Dead at the last second.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool, my friends.
Awesome.
That was an amazing.
This house just has such an ominous feel to it, and the vibe is just kind of off in a place like this. It's
also just finding
what you would think of a haunted house to be.
Starting to beep up.
Then you add in the axe murders, and then you're definitely gonna have some hauntings. It was the perfect time that night to start investigating.
Okay, guys, so it's about 10:30 at night. We just wrapped doing all of our B-roll of the house, doing our dramatic recreations. It's absolutely insane to actually be here. This is, the Lizzie Borden house. If you love the paranormal, you grow up loving the paranormal, haunted stuff, even true crime and murder, this is one of the most infamous places in both worlds, in the true crime world and in the paranormal world, just because obviously this place is known to be so extremely haunted, and on top of that, this is like one of the most famous murders to ever happen in American history. We have some trigger objects we're going to use tonight. Just follow me over here as well. I want to show you something. The weather tonight. The weather tonight is a little frightening. We have a rainstorm outside, thunder booming above. It's cold, it's windy. If there ever was a night that would be perfect for a spooky ghost hunt, it's definitely tonight. But anyways, let's lock this. What's up, guys?
Been almost 2 weeks.
How's it going, man?
It'll be 2 weeks ago as of tonight.
Is everybody excited?
That storm was this
very excited.
Lizzie Borden house, come on.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yes, there was just a knock.
You know, thunder outside, too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was crazy. There's actually like a pop in there. Anyways, let's start with you, Connor. How do you feel?
I'm very excited. Just the history of this place. First, it's a super old house. So just murder next door within murder next. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Murder next door. That involves the same family. The mom drowning her kids and then slitting her wrist or slitting her throat.
Yeah.
There's something going on this block. Hopefully it doesn't affect us
that way,
tonight.
don't it?
You never know.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, God.
But, this place is infamous. And, I'm honored to be here tonight to share with you guys what we might catch here.
Honestly.
At the Lizzie Borden house.
Yeah, and with the murder couple, Mr. and Mrs. Borden. I just heard like footsteps.
Oh God.
What do you guys? Okay, what do you two think? We came here, like what, 10 years ago?
And we wanted to get in, but we couldn't even get in for a tour. They were all booked. Wanted to stay overnight, could not stay overnight. Had to go home. So super excited to get to be here.
Me too. Been a long time coming for Lizzie Borden.
Right?
And now we have the whole place to ourselves.
Oh my God. It's huge. So many bedrooms.
This is a cool place.
It's very cool.
And
If you can make it, make it.
let's not leave out that we are actually spending the night here tonight.
yeah.
We're not
yeah.
just investigating.
The whole night.
The whole night. We each get a different room.
Whole night.
We all sleep in the same one.
Okay.
Connor, you are sleeping in the murder room.
You're sleeping in the murder room.
Mary's sleeping in the murder room.
Yeah.
Maybe.
She will. On the ground in the murder room.
I actually volunteered to sleep in the murder room, so
Colin's in the murder.
I'm ready to sleep
Yeah,
in the murder room.
proud of
man.
you.
Proud of you.
Thanks.
Good job.
Finally.
It's taken a while, but
Well, everybody, I know I'm spectacularly excited right now.
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but it feels like it's time to ghost hunt.
It's
is.
time.
Yeah, you hear that?
they're waiting for us.
Oh.
Oh, back here.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, are we gonna start?
Before we start, let me show you guys one thing. Come over here. So, before we left this evening, we were talking to our tour guide, and he stopped by after we left and we got dinner, and he left us a little goodie bag. So shout out to the people here at the Lizzie Borden house. But he also left us this note, which has something ominous. It says, "Thank you for visiting and taking in the history. You all are great fun." He said, "Here's an addition to the Lizzie Borden poem." So Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her father. Then he said, "Andrew Borden now is dead. Lizzie hit him on the head. With the angels he will sing. From the gallows she will swing." So that's another part of the rhyme. And then right here, and this is particularly spooky, he wrote, "If anything gets really nasty with you, just tell it to stay in the basement." Now, first of all,
What the fuck?
yeah, I don't remember him mentioning much about anything evil, and especially the basement. I think he might have not told us or something. But I also don't like how he says, "Tell it to stay in the basement." Why not tell them or him or her? Why it? Like it's some sort of non-human thing.
Door.
Yeah.
I thought I heard a guy talking.
Kind of thought I heard a door creak.
This is a door. No, never mind.
That almost sounds like footsteps.
It's alright getting active in there, eh?
Okay, anyways, we're gonna get our stuff set up. This is this is what we live for, baby. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not get axe murdered on 3.
One. Yeah. Dude.
Last one in gets chopped by
That's a
Lizzie.
little too long. It's gonna get all messed up.
Yeah. How about axe murder?
Axe murder on
Axe
3.
Mary, put the axe in. You gotta put the axe in.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Axe murder!
You're gonna. I'm gonna
So to start our investigation that evening, I mean, just imagine, guys, there's a thunderstorm outside. The wind is whipping. It's pouring rain. I mean, you cannot invent a night that would be creepier for a ghost hunt, especially at the Lizzie Borden murder house. I mean, it's honestly, it's a dream come true. I kept stepping outside and just looking at the weather going this is awesome, dude. That's the type of shit that gets me excited as a ghost hunter. Nights like that when the energy is so amplified from the environment.
And to be in a place that's just, I mean, you don't get more infamous than Lizzie Borden. We wanted to start our investigation in the room that night where Andrew Borden's body was found. Remember, his face looked like a pile of meat, and it was an extremely graphic and bloody scene. But we felt like that would be the best place, the center point in the home, to begin our investigation. Okay, just setting up. I'm just setting up right now, getting some devices set up in the main room right here, where obviously Mr. Borden was axe murdered. And take a look at the EMF reading here on the mantle. Look at that.
What the heck? That's especially freaky.
Right? Now, something that I'll point out here is that I'm not necessarily trying to say that that is paranormal. We like to kind of debunk stuff here. And in my opinion, the constantness of that signal right there shows that it's coming from somewhere in the house. It's got a repeating pulse.
Yeah.
So I'm not calling that paranormal. But what I'll say makes it weird is the theory is if there's a large amount of EMF energy, spirits use that to be able to manifest and do things. So
it's probably not a spirit.
Paranormal event may not be causing these spikes in EMF.
It might not be a spirit, but it might be a huge boiling pot point where the spirits can kind of reach in and draw some energy out for themselves, as long as they know it's there.
Those spikes in EMF could be in turn causing paranormal events, if that makes sense. So just look at that. That's a massive, you gotta imagine it like a battery. You plug that huge battery into an environment and the whole thing just sets on fire. And that's what we're dealing with tonight. I mean, you could just see it right there. So just a moment ago, I was talking about EMF energy relating to paranormal and how it could be a battery. I picked this paralight up to just move it to a different part of the room. Look at the signal in this room. It is all the way maximum levels of EMF energy. I mean, look at this thing. It is all the way to the freaking top,
the charts,
people.
yeah.
Like, that's the most EMF energy that this thing can even record.
Close to 2 hours.
Every single centimeter of this room is covered.
Well, it's not exactly 2 hours either, but...
Look at this. Holy shit. It's the whole house. Look it dies down right here.
At the edges of the house.
How crazy is that, guys? Look at this is a 0. It's not making any noise, recording anything. Check this out. We walk over here to the murder room, keep in mind. Dude. It's f***ing crazy. Look at that. Look at how much EMF that is. And that just shows that it's working. It's not malfunctioning.
Yeah.
Well, that's trippy. Oh, that gave me a little chill. Okay.
Fuck the EMF. It's just
Okay, guys,
constantly
so
on a hot wire in here. Like, there's constantly something feeding it, at least on this floor.
So we're sitting right now.
Assault, bad state.
Creepy, dude. Oh,
Courtroom.
that wind is creepy.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that wind is so creepy. So
Some strong wind, yeah.
we're sitting right now.
I can't hear it.
In the main.
Like I was kind of calling earlier. Outside stuff, you might be able to hear some of it, but you're not going to hear all of it. And I'm definitely not hearing anything strong. Matter of fact, it sounds like a basic sound effect for a wind noise in the background. But it's obviously loud enough that it's creeping them out. So, yeah. Once again, yeah, that's... I'm not going to pick up too much on the outside noise. But also, I'm going to say, since we're right here right now, I'm double checking here. Yeah, it's shy of 2 hours, 4 hours long, so we're just about to hit the 2 hour mark. And it looks like they're about to properly investigate, so I think we're close enough to the midway point to call it here. I'm going to go get dinner done. Hopefully without too much delay, I'll be back, and I'll start eating as we get into the investigation. So with that being said, I shall return. Be right back. Alrighty then. I've got pizza now. I have a drink I haven't opened yet in front of me. So I have a pizza, I should say. And I'm ready to roll. So let's get this baby going. Let's finish the last half of this tonight. And we can have this ready in a couple days. I just also realized, while it's gone, that there's actually an unreleased episode of Ghost Exorcism Inc., which should also go up as soon as possible. So that'll be tomorrow. Excuse me, which means this will be up Wednesday. So I'll see you all Wednesday. Anyways. Continuing on.
main room, the center of the Lizzie Borden house. And got tons of devices set up. What Connor just pointed out before we started rolling, this device, the Spirit Chat, which is an Ovilus type device, said assault, bad state, and courtroom.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what? It's a crime. A crime.
That's been going off, and I was just like, I just want to check it and see what it said.
It's definitely a little eerie.
There's multiple things that I missed on that.
Yeah, and
quite the storm. I'm seeing the lightning flashing on them now.
it's been actually really crazy so far. That EMF that's in here
It's the perfect place of the storm and that wild energy in the house. So get some good energy and good stuff moving in the house.
In the parlor room where the bodies were viewed and the guests were held. Yeah, guys, let's try to figure out what happened on that fateful night. There's a weird energy in here, isn't there? Okay. Everybody close your eyes for a sec. God, higher power, please watch over us this evening as we attempt to speak to the dead and communicate with lost spirits. Please guide us.
We make the noises.
And protect us as we journey into the darkness. Cast a white light over us and cast a white light over those who are viewing this video footage in the future as well. Amen. Thank you.
A scheme.
A scheme. That's what we were saying.
Maybe that was after you were just saying, let's figure out what happened that fateful night.
So my thought is, maybe Lizzie did it, but I'm kind of under the impression that she didn't actually do it.
Explain that device.
Explain that device.
Well, there are a bunch of devices.
Yeah.
If you see any red lights, I think you know what they are. You just walk up towards them, any of our red lamps, and touch them. It'll show us that you're here. You can also just try to speak. We'll be able to hear you. We'd also love to feel you touch us, to throw something across the room, bang on a wall.
You know, the usual.
To everybody here in the Borden house, we are coming tonight to try to speak with Lizzie, with Andrew, with any member of the Borden family.
Escape.
We just want to call you into this circle and into this room right now. Before we do anything, we're just going to ask, if you're here with us, can you give us a sign?
Communicate. Open your mind.
He was literally saying, come into this place with an open mind.
Music box is on. It's a sign.
Wicked. I think you guys know how to communicate with knocks. Oh, look, somebody just came over here.
Come on in.
There's one over there too.
Yeah, keep coming in. You're welcome to join us. How many of you are out there? Just everybody come in.
Emmy.
Mr. Borden, are you with us right now? Can you knock to let us know that you're here?
Sorry.
Assault.
Again.
2 different devices said assault, and we're sitting on the couch.
Right there.
Surgery.
They did the autopsies in the room right behind us.
Yeah.
Cut them open.
Mr. Borden.
Gloria.
I'm going to turn this device on too and see if it can spell anything out for us.
Remember, he said there could just be any number of spirits coming through here from all over this area. From fires to...
Yes.
Did you hear like a back there?
Like a creak.
We want to protect you.
Blacksmith could have created the axe. They would have had a blacksmith in the 1800s, right?
Oh, for
I
sure.
think so, yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Can you tell me how
Still
many
need blacksmiths.
spirits are in the house right now?
I think we'd have less smithies and more factories by the early 1900s.
Oh, behind us. The dresses.
Positive. Negative.
What? What?
One device says positive.
Whoa.
Oh.
What was that?
One device says positive.
Whoa.
Oh.
Ooh, that was a heck of a
One
pop.
device says positive.
Whoa.
Oh.
That was in the house. Whoever that was.
One,
Fight.
one device says positive, though. One says negative.
Dude, that's insane.
That's crazy.
Positive, negative, and then that huge bang from right here. That was in this room.
Like guilty, not guilty.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what made that noise?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Oh,
Don't be afraid.
Can you use your voice and actually say something that we can pick up, please?
Well, I heard that. Even over my chewing, I could hear those.
Can you knock like this if you're here?
Mom's getting a little uneasy there. Mama spooks.
Restart your phone.
Restart your phone.
Where's the music box? Where's it
Yeah.
pointed towards?
The parlor.
Where the bodies were laying.
Charged with murder. Outsider charged.
Fearful.
Every word that we're getting on this device is like something to do with a crime. Charged with? Lizzie, are you here with us right now?
My remains.
Did they charge the right person with murder?
12.
You
How
asked
many were in the
earlier.
jury?
12.
12.
You asked earlier.
That was loud.
Manifest.
You asked earlier.
Oh, I heard a little something there.
13.
13?
People are coming.
Excuse me. That's quite a few people.
Something has to set it off.
The stretcher in there.
Huh. Hospital trolley.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the stretcher.
Maybe that's what they brought the remains on for the autopsy. That sounds like an old thing.
Well, that's what he was saying in the interview, that their bodies sat in there for multiple days on a hospital stretcher like that.
Yeah. Well, that's weird.
Is this a member of the Borden family we're speaking to? Next room.
The parlor.
See my shadow.
Trying.
In the home.
In the home.
See my shadow.
Next room in the home. See my shadow. Are you in the parlor right now? If you're in this room to my right, can you open that door for me?
Oh.
That would be movement. How about any of the balls on the stairs? Can you try to knock one of those down for us and just show us you're here?
I blow my nose. And that was quite loud. Yeah, whatever that was quite a bit. That sounded like it was upstairs again.
Anniversary.
I don't know if this makes any sense, but it was like the anniversary of the moms.
Oh, what was that? What was that? That was a drag movement across the floor.
Anyone.
I swear, I just watched this door creak a little bit. You coming in? If you want us to come over to the parlor room, can you give us one more sign and we'll come over by you?
Murdered.
Murdered! Murdered!
That was a knock.
Don't go down there.
Oh.
Basement.
What?
Where's the box picked up something?
What's in the basement?
Victorian.
This
Oh
is
my
Victoria.
god. Have you ever had Victorian?
I don't think so.
How do you feel about people coming into this home? Coming into this home.
That
Coming
interesting.
into this
Not sure what
home.
that was.
Belittling.
Oh.
I didn't see belittling. Oh. Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, we don't want you to feel belittled. That's not our goal here.
Doubt.
Doubt.
Jeez. It's like that's our answering device for now. Right there.
It might be Lizzie.
Lizzie, is that you?
There's somebody over here.
Mama Spooks is holding that camera like she's about to club something.
And there's the creepy thing trying to get us to go to the basement.
They take other forms.
There's Eliza and Eliza Jane, or the daughter.
Eliza Ann.
Dude,
Eliza Ann.
it said,
Oh my god.
I asked, what's in the basement? And it said, they take other forms and no way out.
Sense.
I say we should go walk over to the parlor.
Shows nothing.
Bar room! Oh, dude.
Fuchsias.
That was a
Dude.
What?
Dude, come over here.
Clip.
Listen.
crime in the basement.
Dude, how creepy is this, man? It seems like we're in like a horror movie. Wasn't that just...
Why?
Guys, look it. There's something standing. Oh, it just went away. Did you catch that?
No.
What was it?
There was the thing. The proximity meter was on red. Okay, so I've got this bell tool. We're gonna try to communicate to Lizzie or whoever's here. Oh, dude!
What the hell?
Jeff, the stairs. The stairs. Right there.
Oh, yeah, on the bastard.
Listen.
Right here. Right here.
Ooh, I got chills. Shit, that thing just went over the net. That was crazy.
Yo, what the f was that?
What did you hear?
All the REM pods.
Every single REM pod just went off in all the different parts of the house. Okay, guys, we need to address what just happened. Every single REM pod in this entire building just went off. From that side of the house, on the stairs, into this room. Like a mega burst. And look at this thing is just spelling out words in here. Okay. Me, no. Okay, let's go back.
These lights are these
Loud. Basement.
There was a bang.
These lights go off like this just all the time. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back in the parlor. This is crazy, dude. What the fuck?
This battery's about to die.
Oh my god, what is going on with these fucking batteries? Can you please stop messing with our batteries?
I got the smell. Smoke. Like a fireplace.
I smell that too. I'm gonna do a little experiment in here with this EMF bell. Okay, if you're here in this room with us, you see that bell that we just put down? Go walk over to it and put your hand on it and it'll ring. You can answer our questions that way. Come back. Right when we left that room. Can you ring the bell if Mr. Borden is here with us?
Okay, he's with us.
So, Mr. Borden. Did Lizzie kill you?
Alrighty
Can
then.
you ring that bell if that's a yes?
They never found me.
That's a double. That's a no.
Mr. Borden.
Holy
Okay, can you
smoke.
stop for a second? Ranger. Can you ring that bell again? If they never caught the murderer. They never arrested the murderer. Explore. What the f?
Double
This
confirm.
thing
They
was
never
just on
caught.
the
They
whole
never
time in that
caught them.
room.
They
You can see
never
it in the
arrested.
corner of the shot. Mr. Borden, can you ring that bell? Explore records. Mr. Borden is the every time I say his name is the person who killed you
somewhere in the records of this house, in a photo here in the house?
That's a yes. Yes. Yes.
God.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
It's like, yes.
Ooh.
Okay, Miss. Oh, I have full body chills. Player. Was he like a player, like a bachelor?
I'm a little sad.
What do you mean by player?
And it just suddenly stopped.
Or do you mean like he played you? Or they played you?
Vision.
Vision best. Southernmost here. Why don't you do two spirit? Let's all have spirit talk around.
We sit. Legs are tired. You can bring a chair up.
This said singing.
Well, you're right in front of the piano.
I'm in my 60s.
Sing us a song, your piano man. Sing us a song tonight.
Yeah, 66. 66 when she died.
Mm.
Okay, so you're still with us. We have a lot of tools with us that can help you describe the person that killed you.
Tonight.
Okay.
Can you tell us what they looked like or something about who they were?
Could you ring the bell once if it was a man? Or twice if it was a woman?
Tired.
I'm feeling tired. Residents.
Male resident?
Feathers.
Okay, guys, so we took a break really quick to fill up on some batteries. Climb.
Follow us behind you.
Climb and follow us behind you. Do you want us to go? Want us to go to the basement? Sense. We got that again too. Do you want us to go upstairs, Mr. Borden? Use table.
I'll prove I'm here.
How do we
Trying.
How do we use table? You know?
We are using the table.
Oh!
There it is.
Oh! That one too! That one too, guys!
Out there. Okay, I saw that.
Cases.
Okay, it's using the table. That's what it's doing.
Dude, what the f is going on?
Movers. Oh my gosh.
I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds we get used table and the REM pod just immediately starts spiking? He has his eye on you.
Who has his eye on us?
We like your equipment.
Equipment. Thank you. You can keep playing with it. There you go.
Oh, this came up with Shannon.
Keep doing it. Really?
Uh-huh.
Really?
How's it spelled?
Shannon.
Shannon?
You're Shannon.
How's it spelled?
Shannon.
It
Oh
was
my gosh, that's crazy.
What?
That's bizarre.
The Lizzie in my family earlier.
Yeah.
Vincent.
Right.
Miscarriage. Join us.
Oh my god.
It's like overwhelming.
It's trying
People
to
are trying
convince
to-
Connor to axe murder us.
I think there's like a lot of spirits in here again, like he was saying earlier, right? From anywhere around here.
Can you help us understand what happened that day where the 2 people were murdered?
Were
Lots
you
of beeps and
protective
pings.
of the person that murdered you? Was it
There's an afterlife. Choice.
Was it somebody in your family or related to someone in your family that murdered you?
Robinson.
It's this one. That's right.
Right when you ask if it's somebody in your family or related to that murdered you. Oh,
If you're here, can you make one of the balls go down the stairs?
the cane.
Use your energy.
Do you ever? If you're somebody from the Borden family, please hit that bell twice.
I protect this place.
If you're not from the Borden family, hit the bell once.
Jeff.
There. Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm here. So, Mr. Borden, was your killer in the house? Was it Lizzie that killed you? If it is, ring the bell just once.
What?
We'll give you a little time. Take your energy. Ring the bell once if Lizzie did kill you, and ring it twice if she didn't kill you. Okay, so she killed you. I think most people think that.
Neck torture. Died a long time ago.
What was it?
Neck torture. Summer.
What time are you?
She didn't.
Was it in the summer?
She did. Now it's active again.
Yeah.
But I think he's.
I got loves. So you would think that Mr. Borden loved his daughter a lot. Because
Yeah.
it sounds like she was a little bit.
They want our
Archibald.
attention. They want our attention here. Okay.
What?
I'm having this like weird vision. I don't know, it's just like popping in my head and I can't get it out. That like I'm seeing Lizzie like walking around the house with a hatchet covered in blood. But it's like
That was going off there.
Oh my god.
Well, always.
Holy cow.
Push the ball.
Emotional.
Please push one of the balls down the stairs for us if you're active. That one's going crazy out there.
Attacks people.
The man attacks
Oh my
people.
god.
That one count. Still going. Jeez. It's like surges of energy.
I don't think it was Lizzie, bro.
no, but what I was saying, I didn't finish. It's Lizzie like walking around the house holding an axe covered in blood. But there's like a mass that's like puppeteering her. I don't know, it's very strange. I don't usually see stuff like this.
She died.
But it's like...
Yeah,
Caroline.
So what are you trying to get at?
Like there's something here that was like controlling her. I don't know.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I'm somewhat biased because I think she's innocent just based on some of the research that we did. What I interpret that as is when you mentioned her and like being guilty and covered in blood, everything went off. It was like she was here going like, no! You know what I mean? You could be thinking of the other woman who drowned her kids and killed herself too.
Did that happen before or after?
Before.
Listen upstairs. All right. We're going to sit and listen for a second. If you're upstairs, what do you want us to hear?
He killed.
He killed. He. Maybe Lizzie was in on it and a man carried out the killings. Evidence.
Well, her uncle.
Neighbors.
Oh, no.
Neighbors.
But John.
Uncle.
He killed her.
But neighbors.
Attachments fixes Playboy neighbors.
John was definitely a suspect.
Uh-huh.
A scheme. It said on here, a scheme. I don't think Lizzie... My feeling is she didn't actually kill someone. She might have had something to do with the murders. I mean, you can't tell for sure, but if she hired or worked with a man...
Thank you for listening. The children are playing.
That just said playing too.
Right before that.
It's weird how the bells stopped ringing too.
It's saying like letters.
Is there somewhere else we should go in the house?
Demonic.
Uh-huh. The usual
Is the
go-to
thing
to try and scare
downstairs
you.
demonic? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
In their eyes, it probably is. It's probably just, again, elemental energy. It just comes out in an evil form and it instantly makes all these old-fashioned spirits shout, "Demon!"
Poisoned.
No.
Poisoned. Oh,
So
dude.
crazy.
Look it. This literally says right here, a scheme.
You're
Poison.
being followed. Something's wrong.
Do you guys smell something? Oh, dude, the hair on my... Mary, can you see this? Look at my goosebumps forming.
Little girl around you.
Oh.
That was upstairs.
What did that say?
Right. Are you upstairs?
A pact.
Yeah. Maybe the three of them.
It's really strange, though. Connor's vision of Lizzie being followed by something dark. What if she made a pact with...
Sir.
Not to sound stupid, but... What if she did something with the with something dark? You know what I mean?
Or what if something dark decided
There's a group of us.
to prey on her and tricked her?
A pact? A scheme?
Yeah. A group that were in on it.
And it wouldn't be the first time because of what happened to that other family member
It's even like if it wasn't something
that used to live nearby.
demonic or something like that, but someone who
someone like in the town
I've been here 150 years.
she's saying like, oh, like my dad's doing all this stuff for other people. He's leaving me and my sister out of this because he said statutory. He said that like she was dumping all this information on her friends and stuff. What if she was out somewhere, told someone all this stuff? My dad's got all this money, and he's kind of screwing us and giving money to all these other people. And they're like, well, let's do something about this. So they make a pact. They come up with a scheme, like, do this, this, this.
I mean, I think it could be like you're saying. Lizzie comes to some people, maybe even a neighbor or family member. If we kill my family,
Forgive me.
we can make a lot of money by killing them. And they planned the perfect crime because nobody ever went down for it.
Might have even paid off the maid,
And
Nancy. Emotion.
paid off the uncle.
our tour guide last night that worked here for how many years? And then when we asked her if she believed that Lizzie did it, what she said, yes, but there was something I can't even tell you, like there's a reason, like that she wanted vengeance or whatever.
Footsteps.
Yeah, and made it sound like it possibly was. Like there's a reason, a motivation.
Yeah.
Like a deep-seated, but she was like, I'm not talking about it. Like, I'm not going to talk about it. So was he doing something to Lizzie that wasn't right?
But that's the crazy thing.
You seem familiar.
It's the fact that she knew that she couldn't just get rid of her stepmom and her dad not ask any questions about it. So you take care of one, you take care of the other. She was in her 30s when this happened. She's just trying to set herself up. She wants to.
We are watching you.
She just wants to have all the money and the property and not have to worry about her mean stepmom and her dad that she's assuming just like doesn't care about her.
We're going to move to a different part of the house.
Steal?
What did it say?
Steal.
Like the money?
Yeah.
Steal. So, Mr. Borden, if Lizzie... We're about to leave...
Walk right.
to the upstairs. Mr. Borden, one more question. Will you ring that bell once if Lizzie is completely innocent and she did no wrong?
Big
I
test.
used to live here.
And this said a little, like she was a little innocent. Maybe she didn't kill anybody, but...
Okay, we're going to move into another room, but before we go, can you ring the bell once if Lizzie wasn't innocent?
That was upstairs.
Okay, if Lizzie, you weren't innocent, or she wasn't innocent, ring the bell before we leave.
Ring the bell, please. It's been a while since you rang the bell. If Lizzie is not innocent, then we can move to a different part of the house and keep asking questions. Just ring it as many times as you want.
You are nice.
Off you go.
Like I'm not answering.
Oh! 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 Oh!
Do you have questions?
Crazy out
Dude.
Off you go.
there. Okay.
Off you go.
Off you go.
upstairs.
One ring. The thing is trying to get us out of this room. You guys ready to go upstairs to the murder room?
Let's go.
Oh God.
I think we're ready.
I'm ready.
Pause.
Yeah.
You must leave.
Oh. Why should we? Why do we have to leave?
I'll come back.
We feel as if we were talking to Lizzie and that there was some sort of conspiracy behind the murder. I mean, multiple people, poison, all these different things. Feels as if we were speaking to Lizzie or someone else about a conspiracy unfolding about these murders. I mean, multiple people being involved, poison. But we feel as if we were being led into the next room.
So what's insane, and it still blows my mind, is those massive EMF waves that were rippling throughout the home, setting off our REM pods in one room, another room, and our room. I mean, 3 different REM pods all going off at the same time to the max and then quitting at the same time. It was this strange pulse that was just, I don't know, rippling through the house. And regardless if the EMF and everything, if all that's paranormal or not, that's a massive battery from which ghosts or spirits could draw energy from in order to manifest and speak with us. After reviewing our evidence, we all felt like there was more to the story than we previously knew about. Like there was a conspiracy of some sort, multiple people involved in the murder. But to get more answers, we knew we had to head upstairs to the room where Lizzie's stepmother was found.
I mean, do you hear the wind?
Whistling.
Are you rolling?
Oh my God.
Look at this. We just took a break before we moved upstairs. Could you imagine a more perfect night to spend the night at the Lizzie Borden murder house? A torrential rainstorm, thunder above. I mean, look at these trees! Spooky trees! And just silently, just listen to the wind for a moment. I mean, this is like classic horror movie ghost story weather. Makes you want to go.
Trying to hang up the Boris Karloff cutout in the window.
That was a pretty good evil laugh.
That was a very
Kind
good
of
one.
look around and watching you.
That, it's like a typical horror, like. And those trees, look at the branches. Let me see if I can see it when I hold it. Look at the branches swaying in the wind over there.
Ooh, yeah. Those some thick trees too.
Oh my God, dude. Wow.
This is going.
Yo.
Both of the REM pods were just going off.
Can you keep making it go, please?
Look.
Oh, right behind you.
Just to show this real quick, Connor. Like we were talking downstairs, showing the battery that exists in this house. Look, in the murder room, it's baseline 0.
That's so strange.
Look at all this EMF.
What the hell is with the energy spikes in this place? There's gotta be something up to the wiring. There's just no way that should be normal.
It's right here.
And it's no wonder people see shit in this place.
Let's test it over here.
And no wonder the spirits are so overactive. All right.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
Doesn't matter with the REM pod.
Damn.
No. Look at it, right where her body was found. Up here, none. Where her body was found. Oh my God! Over there! Dude, over there!
Pink as well.
Connor, look at this!
Pink.
What the fuck was that, dude?
Wow.
Just to show that one more time. Look at this. I mean, how honestly bizarre is this?
Very strange.
And what is up with that signal that keeps pulsing? And look at even this.
I mean, that's the weird thing because people will say, like, oh, it's
Like just the electric wiring in the
Yeah.
house. But electric wiring, it doesn't pulse. It would stay at a consistent level
thing
the whole
too.
time. And this, I mean, I just feel like
should
this
not be
is
doing this.
Unbelievably weird.
But then
It's got to be something that's kind of going on and off.
You know, it's selective.
Because it also doesn't just stay on all the time either.
Hey guys, so
it's
right now
really
we're
strange.
upstairs
I would normally go to,
in
it's
the murder
electricity,
room.
but
This is
what
where
kind of
Abby-
electricity?
Borden was murdered.
Because it's not normal power where
remember,
everything's constantly on all
killer
the time. Like a
walked in
constant
through
stream
this
is supposed
door,
to be.
right around here, struck
excuse me.
Abby in the side of the face.
Finished my dinner, by the way.
She
I'm down
fell
to just
down
my
right here.
lovely
This is
RC
where
Cola. Hashtag not
that
sponsored.
horrific set of axe blows was delivered to the back of her head, and she died right here on
So
this
my foot
floor.
is recovering from
Something
thinking about
told
to
us
do
to
this
come up
last
here.
week.
And
Wanted
I think
high
we received
caffeine, keep
confirmation we're
my
supposed to
spirits and
come up
energy up,
because of the
and by the time
REM
I
pod
was getting
spike
home,
that
I'm
we
like,
just
I
showed.
regret this choice.
And I mean, it's just
Goes right to my bones.
that pop was me opening it. We're gonna do a DR60 right now. An EVP session.
60.
I'm gonna set this down right in the area where Abby's
Close
body
my
was
eyes and
found.
try to not take a nap.
So let's start it now.
It's weird what can turn into ASMR
right.
for you.
Mrs. Borden, Mr. Borden, we're here to just talk to you. Can you tell me your name so we know who we're talking to?
Do you know who committed the murders?
It's a very loud bed.
Was there multiple people involved in the murders?
What were you killed by? What weapon were you killed by on the floor there?
Can you give us any sort of a description of the person that killed you? Was it a man or a woman?
Why are you staying in this house? Is there a reason you're still here?
Were the people killed in this house killed because of money?
Did the people in this house have a scheme or a pact to kill Abby and Andrew? Or did somebody else do it, just one person?
Was Lizzie Borden innocent?
Weird to keep that in there, but okay.
It is like
That's like 50 miles per hour.
it is huge, the wind out there.
There's so many noises out there.
Oh, so many, and we have to sleep.
There.
That's
where
out
we
here.
have to sleep.
Are you sleeping here?
Hell no. Hell no.
I thought you said you were going to.
No,
Yeah,
I think we all
changed my
sleep
mind.
together. I mean, like,
Oh, we're
in
okay.
well, just in those beds, like all close to each
Yeah.
other out there. Not in one bed.
God, I hope not.
We could
no,
never
we're all
fit.
sleeping on one
They're
bed.
full-size beds.
Okay, let's listen in.
Alright, Mrs. Borden, Mr. Borden, we're here to talk to you. Can you tell me your name so we know who we're talking to? You know who committed the murder.
Oh,
Something shouted.
who committed the murders?
You know who committed the murder.
Say again, I did.
I hear. Time.
I think an emphatic yes.
Do you know who committed the murder? Was there multiple people involved in the murder? What were you killed by? What weapon were you killed by on the floor there? Were you killed by on the floor there?
Oh, I heard like hatchet or axe.
Didn't that sound like
What were you killed by? What weapon were you killed by on the floor there? Can you give us any sort of a description of the person that killed you? Was it a man or a woman?
Woman.
A woman.
Very clear.
Was it a man or a woman? Why? Is there a reason you're still here? Were the people killed in this house killed because of money? Did the people in this
I
house
heard very quickly.
money?
Yes. It might have been before the rest that they heard.
Did the people
Yes, got
in
my
this house
attention.
have a scheme or a pact to kill Abby and Andrew? Or did somebody else do it? Just one person? Was Lizzie Borden innocent?
Ooh.
I mean,
That
or
was very clear.
somebody else
No
do it?
way.
Just one person? Was Lizzie Borden innocent?
No way.
Abby and Andrew?
No way.
Or did somebody else do it? Just one person? Was Lizzie Borden innocent?
Somebody did it on purpose? Yes.
No way. That's the most responses we've gotten in a long time.
We should do one more session.
Yeah.
Let's do one more. That
Here,
was
I'm
good.
gonna sit
How about
down.
you just sit by us?
Yeah. You want to sit here, Colin?
Here,
On the
I'll bet
chair?
right here. Just sit.
Sit in the chair.
I'm gonna sit right by the death thing.
Okay. Do you guys want to come over here?
Ooh, easy, old man.
That was a big one.
An elephant hits the floor.
I will say how he was saying she got hit in the face and then fell face first on the ground, not catching herself. How loud that was. For you to be anywhere in this house and not hear that,
That's true.
not a
Whack.
chance. Honestly.
That's so true.
I proved a point.
Well, wouldn't they scream?
I mean, even
out
just-
too?
Yeah.
Like you're getting.
Oh, yeah, I mean, come
You're
on.
gonna scream.
I think what it's pointing to is Lizzie was involved. Maybe we can get confirmation on. I mean, it sounded like killed by a woman. Didn't confirm it was Lizzie. I mean, there's the maid still. Neighbors. God, it's creepy. It's creepy thinking about a dead body being right here. You know?
That's
And we're hearing a lot of noises out there, too.
Why don't you get us? Why don't you do? Oh no, we'll do the stick right here after this.
If Lizzie, Andrew, John, Abby, Eliza, if you can hear my voice and you're out there in the rest of the house, why don't you step into this room and speak with us right now? Can you please tell us, say as clearly as possible, the name of the person who killed you?
Mr. Borden, a very simple question. Were you a nice man or a bad man in real life?
How do you feel about having these pictures of yourself laying here dead on the wall and having people come in constantly to your house?
I feel like there's an entity who's latched on to people in the Borden family that made them kill. Is that true?
I'm going to make this really simple and really easy. Was Lizzie the person who held the axe that day and murdered you? Yes or no? Was it Lizzie Borden?
So I want to know if there was a pact to kill in the home here between Lizzie, Bridget, John, maybe Emma. Are any of those people guilty in a scheme to kill in the house?
How do you feel? Are you at peace or are you angry?
Was John involved in the murders that happened in this house?
Fair question.
And finally, just one more question. Is there a demonic presence here in the basement?
Okay. Now, guys, let's listen.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please tell us, say as clearly as possible, the name of the person who killed you?
Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie Borden.
Oh, we gotta listen.
The name of the person who killed you.
Lizzie Borden. Whoa.
As clearly as possible, the name of the person who killed you.
Wow.
Mr. Borden, very simple question. Were you a nice man or a bad man in real life? How do you feel? I was a nice man. Very simple question. Were you a nice man or a bad man in real life?
Okay, I can kind of hear it, yeah.
Very simple question.
Wasn't
Were you
quite
a
sure.
nice man or a bad man in real life?
I can also hear it the other way, too.
Having these pictures of yourself laying here dead on the wall and having people come in constantly to your house. I don't like it. You're dead on the wall and having people come in constantly to your house. I feel like there's an entity who's latched on to people in the Borden family that made them kill. Is that true?
What the hell is that?
What is that?
Yes or no? Lizzie, make this really simple and really easy.
It's like it's trying to scratch the microphone.
Person who helped. I'm going to make this really simple and really easy. Yeah. Is that true? What the for the Borden family that made them kill. Is that true?
It's like a dog.
That made them kill. Is that true?
I just heard that before I saw the words. I heard that very clearly, and I looked over just in time to hear the demon part, and I'm like, oh,
Do you hear that?
It's a demon. That made them
I'm a demon.
Is that true? I'm going to make this really simple and really easy. Was Lizzie the person who held the axe that day and murdered you? Yes or no? Was it Lizzie Borden?
Whoa.
No. Was it Lizzie Borden?
Whoa.
The person who held the axe that day and murdered you? Yes or no? Was it Lizzie Borden? So I want to know if there was
I'm not sure.
pact to kill in the home here between Lizzie, Bridget, John, maybe Emma. Are any of those people guilty in a scheme to kill in the house?
Yes.
Yes, God.
Oh my
Maybe have
God.
arguing about people in a scheme to kill in the house?
Yes.
Yes, God.
Oh my
Maybe have
God.
arguing about people guilty in a scheme to kill in the house? How do you feel? Are you at peace or are you angry?
I heard the angry, yeah.
I'm angry.
How do you feel? Are you at peace or are you angry? Was John involved in the murders that happened in this house? And
Can't
finally,
turn it
just
off,
one
whatever
more
it was.
question. Is there a demonic presence here in the basement?
If I heard it correctly, yes. Couple.
That
You
actually gives me the creeps.
You have a lot.
It's got a lot. There's some talkative energy there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever it is and whether or not you can trust it, that
You
is
get a lot of
talkative as
like,
all get
most-
out.
Most all of those.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're good.
Like a good half of them that are definitely very audible.
It's just super creepy.
That's crazy.
Does this change your mind?
Kinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do SLS up here?
Sure. Let's just walk through the rooms
Okay.
and just be quiet.
So as you can hear during that DR60 session, it sounds almost like Lizzie was involved. Now, I've always thought Lizzie didn't do it, but my mind might be changing based on this evidence. Somebody was there in the room speaking with us, and somebody had some sort of a truth that they wanted to share that maybe they haven't been able to in the past.
Excuse me.
We wanted to just figure out who was with us and what they knew about this crime. And so we decided to get up and just walk around that floor, seeing where we felt energy, who we could try to talk to, and some genuinely frightening events followed.
So we were just playing around with the floor, looking around the room, and right on her pillow, right there on the bed, there's a blue area.
The binder?
No, move the binder. I didn't touch it. You guys just came up. But look at stand next to that. I'll show you how. Look at how he's colored. Wait, I'm gonna get you focused in. Look at him. Okay. Cat ball's going off.
Ooh,
What was that?
that was
We haven't
loud.
played with this hardly at all. Look at this. This is like. I mean, you can look at going all around here, and then you get up. Look at the colors. Look at how it's fading.
Is something sitting there?
You should have seen how much more
That is weird.
blue it was.
Yeah.
I think the floor is cool.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, look at it, Mary. Come in. You started filming it before they got here. Look at the color. I'll come back in here after.
Okay guys, so we're gonna walk around with the SLS and just go through this upper floor and just let's try to be as quiet as possible, everybody, and just listen. You can see my ass cheeks. You can see my butt cheeks on the floor from where I was sitting.
Cheeky boy.
That's so dumb. Cap, look at this. Cap, look at my perfect butt cheeks.
How did they get on the floor?
Because I was sitting there for so long.
Oh god.
You got some hot buns.
How do you get them that hot?
Buns.
That's funny.
Fresh out of the oven, boy. Gosh
Okay.
darn, how hard are
Anybody
you
here?
cooking up here?
What was that?
What was that? Ooh.
What was that? Oh, what was that? Lizzie? Emma? Andrew? Abby? Oh. Whoa. There's movement in there. Oh my God. Oh. Oh, this room's fucking creepy.
Guys, I got something on the wall in here. I got something way up on the wall.
Where? Oh. Oh, it's above the door.
Look at. But it's actually towards this, the bed frame up here.
Isn't that the door right there?
Yeah, but it is. But it's coming.
Oh, what was that?
Dude, anything like hung or anything in this room? Or look at it's like hanging from the ceiling.
Lizzie, Emma, Abby, Andrew.
It's actually above the door. It's hanging.
Can you get down from there?
Oh, look at.
Oh, it's actually getting down. Yeah, why don't you come down?
Oh, it's on the bed.
Oh, do you hear that in that room?
It's like a door. Look at it's on the bed.
Who's in here with us?
It's coming down.
It's actually coming down. Oh, it's right there. Can you shut that door over there in that room? If that's somebody we're picking up, can you make a noise to let us know that you're in the room with us?
This thing.
It's like floating, dude.
It's going sideways.
It's contortionist.
It's over the radiator.
Oh.
It's over the. Now it's
Weird
standing,
stuff like that is why I can't really fully believe it. And it's like
it's
a bit of a stretch.
That's a voice.
Much like what it's doing on that screen.
Look at it. It's like punching Connor or kicking him. Or it was.
Drop kick.
Where is he?
Roundhouse kick.
No. It's going. I don't know where.
Hear that growl?
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, Jesus! Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus!
What the fuck was that?
What was that? Did you hear another voice? Just now.
There's stuff in there. Oh, it's just constant.
It was like a bang from right there in that room.
And like,
Oh my God.
it's like women's voices.
Mm-hmm. What is that? Oh,
it's gone. It's gone.
Jesus! Oh my God! I
Oh, Jesus!
Oh,
it's gone. It's gone.
Jesus! Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus!
I don't really want to.
Go make Papa Seuss go deaf before his time.
And then
You
just-
boys are louder than rock radio. And more skittish than a cat around the outhouse.
Can you make another noise like that?
Can you make any sort of noise and we'll follow where the noise is? me.
Dude, it's following us.
It is.
It's like every time we leave an area, it's a fucking noise. Like, where did that... I can't tell where that bang even came from. Maybe that was behind us, too.
There's... I don't know. Just so many noises and then just kind of like women's voices.
I mean, you couldn't even invent a creepier night. Like the rain pounding on... The wind howling and the rain pouring.
Can you make one of our little gadgets go off, or flicker a light, or knock, or show us your shadow? Guys.
This is fucking creepy.
I thought the Conjuring house was creepy, but this is like way...
Let's walk up here before we go down to the basement once.
So, Connor, are you just done with this? Is this...
Connor, you want to sleep up here, Paul?
No. If any of the children are here, do you want to play a game with us? To the kids? Are you hearing that? If you're with us, little kitties.
Children.
Little children.
Hello, children.
Can you come press one of those? Do you feel like it's touching you?
I want to give you love.
That's all over to you is right.
Hello, children.
Dude, even look at the EMF up here.
Still doing weird jitters.
Your head. No, it's not.
I mean, there's just so much EMF in this house. It's so freaky because it's hard to tell what is like a rain noise and what's like paranormal, you know?
If there's any children up here with us right now, can you make a noise wherever you are?
Okay, there's one on the bed. There's one on the bed, Colin.
Where at?
Right here, all over the bed here at the base of the bed. By the ball. Look at, I got it filmed. But
Hey, buddy, can you give me a high five?
Connor's mapping out, right?
Oh, this is spiking too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this thing is. Oh, just went.
Do you want to play? I'm a mom, and I'll play with some of the toys with you. You can hold my hand.
They might not like moms.
True.
I'm not a mom. I'm a different type of mom. I'm a nice
There's the one
mom.
right on your hand. Right by it.
Holding my hand.
Yeah, right there. It's right on you.
Oh my
Keep your hand
God.
I've
there.
been here 50 years.
Keep your hand there.
Oh.
Can you feel anything with your hand? It's literally right on your hand. Oh, there's Mary. It's hanging onto the bed frame. That's got your hand, Mary.
Oh my God. Can you touch my head?
Oh my gosh. It's literally laying under your hand.
Or can you reach over and play with one of these toys like we just did?
This thing's all over here.
Reach
Anyway, it's
out
just,
and touch
I'm just
me.
gonna leave it here. There's a lot of figures in here.
Yeah, what do you guys think? You want to go do a basement Estes?
Maybe the heater.
Possibly, yeah.
It just feels like there's like crinkling. I don't... Did that just die right next to me?
Yeah.
Oh,
What was that?
shit.
Oh,
This
the
light.
water.
I think we've gotten a lot of really good answers so far, but We need
Destination.
to go to the basement.
So after we heard that loud bang from somewhere in the house, we couldn't figure out where it came from. So we decided to use the Estes method, a method that we love to use to talk to these spirits. And this time, it was my turn to go under. We really needed some answers.
Time to go, Connor. Let's go.
We were about to get some.
Hey everybody, it's Colin here. Thank you for
this is for the online
and this
folks.
week to enter the comment.
Hope contest winner enjoys their gift bag
so much. But anyway, and stay
and
spooky.
Let's get it going. Back
Hey
to the show.
everybody, quick reminder. We have a live event tomorrow, January 30th, that starts at 7 Place Pride.
Well, that's past at this point.
30th live. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Love you guys.
Dude, those haven't hit for in like a long time. Alright, so we just got down to the basement to do our Estes method session. Keep in mind, Andrew Borden's bloodstains are directly above us on the floorboards. You can see them. And that REM pod just hit. It's the first time it's hit in like probably an hour and a half, which is f***ing weird.
So let's say at least a couple hours.
This is where it's wanted us to come to the whole time.
So I assume
And remember, guys,
this is chopped down.
He said earlier, tell it to stay in the
moves.
basement. So, whatever that means. Connor's going to do the Estes tonight. Connor, you're going to do the experiment tonight with the goggles.
The goggles, they do nothing.
Put 'em on
They
and
give
let's
me
do
the
it.
visions.
I feel like Cyclops when I wear these.
Those things are crazy. They look so crazy. All right. To whoever we've been talking to this evening, whether it's Andrew, Abby, even Lizzie, before we start, can you say something like hi or hello just to let us know that you're there?
Let's go.
Are any of the
Fulfill the prophecy.
Borden family members here? Tell us your first name or your first names, please.
It's all in motion.
Can you tell us how many spirits are in this house?
A whole lot.
Ooh, that's quite the answer.
It's funny. It was like sounds like a sports channel. A whole lot.
Turn to mine the 49er.
Yeah, I would say.
Bongo. Up in the
Why are
hills.
you here?
Well, we just are trying to get answers about who killed the people that were murdered here. Do you know anything about the crime that happened here? The axe murders?
It's going down.
What do you mean by that?
It's already been done here.
What happened here? Can you tell us?
The deaths.
I was out of my mind.
Oh.
Kind of goes with Connor's theory.
Yeah, right.
6 males.
Who were the 6 males? Were they Borden members, family members, or strangers? Drifters?
That's the team. It's funny, it's like I'm getting nothing but like sports channels.
So it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like a conspiracy type thing. A team.
Yeah. It had to be.
Scheme, a team, whatever.
So Lizzie Borden was working with other men?
It was emotional work.
Family. Yeah. John.
Any gullible person would.
Was it over money?
just with
Of course.
poison.
Yeah.
Of course, it was over money.
I gotta say, it's
Lord Jesus.
it's eerie down here with the wind.
It is.
So, this crime, I feel though like there was an element of passion in this crime because it was so delivered with such anger. Did Andrew Borden harbor some dark secrets? Did he ever do something to Lizzie?
How about I kill you guys 1-2 punch?
Well, you can't kill us.
At least we hope not.
I'm holding grudges.
Ooh.
Somebody's talking about me. And some person we used to know. Who do you want to punch? Who do you want to give the 1-2 punch to? Or why? What did they do to you?
All the people.
Are there any children here?
100%.
Well, makes sense.
How did the children that are here die? Were they thrown into a well?
Oh. That's really creepy.
That's f***ing crazy.
Oh my god.
So there's crazy.
Oh.
Die. Were they thrown into a well?
Drowning.
That's really creepy.
That's f***ing crazy.
Oh my god.
So there's a lot of spirits here. Oh,
No survivors.
No survivors. Not
So-
many, no.
Did Lizzie Borden actually swing the axe? That's what we're all curious to know.
That's a bad headache.
Oh god.
Dang.
It's like Colin asked you if was it Lizzie Borden?
Whoa. Yeah, you could say that. What the?
When I said Lizzie Borden. Lizzie, have you come into the room with us? So I was going to ask you, if Lizzie Borden didn't swing the axe, was it the team? Can you say like something like that, like a group of men, or the team, or three of them?
It was me.
Would you take it that it was like Lizzie Borden then?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
Lizzie Borden, then it was me. So I think she had a team. Conspiracy to help.
The wording's wrong.
My conspiracy's wrong.
That's so true. That was
Yeah.
creepy.
That was.
I got chills actually right now.
Wow. That was.
So just answer simply. We're just wondering, was Lizzie Borden the one who carried out the killing? Or was it her and multiple people? Was it not her? What happened?
Oh, yeah.
I just think that going off after Lizzie
The
Borden.
heartache.
Oh, you'd be really heartbroken if your daughter killed you over money. And it sounds like she was pretty spoiled.
She could have had regrets as well
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
My children.
Do you have equipment still set up upstairs? Because I hear a lot of beeping.
No.
Yeah, there is.
Can you hear that?
Well, did the banister one? Did you take that one down?
Yeah.
That one was going off like crazy before.
Yeah.
When you were
Dude, I
upstairs.
hate these goggles.
They're really creepy, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
It's weird. I feel it's gonna look so stupid, but I feel like there's someone in front of me going.
Oh god.
Fuck that.
Oh.
That's a little creepy.
Yeah, that is a little creepy.
little weird.
I'd say.
So, is Lizzie Borden... Lizzie, are you in the room with us right now? Because you're the one we came to talk to.
In the ground.
I know, I can hear that going off up there.
It's hard to change.
I just think it's Lizzie Borden myself. that going off right when I said it.
Yeah.
And then her saying, and what?
What'd she say? It's me.
Yeah. So Lizzie, let's say that it was you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to admit guilt to us or anything. I think that's why you're not saying, distinct answers. But what did your father do to you? We've heard from people that Andrew may have done some bad things to you. What did he do?
He did, like, there was molesting.
So serious.
That one tour guide was insinuating.
Not personal.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
So it's either something like that or just
sheer rude.
I didn't
and
want
just-
to.
And didn't get along with her stepmother.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, she had a motive that she goes, she'd like to tell us what she can.
Yeah.
So she's convinced that Lizzie Borden did it.
Who else was involved, Lizzie?
"91 minutes.
How many time? Like, how much time between the mother and the...
Wait, what? Yeah, it was like 90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Of the story. What was it?
Well, when the mom got axed to the dad getting
90 minutes.
axed.
That's why they said it took so long between.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
Wait, that's crazy because I wouldn't even remember that detail. That's a very obscure detail to remember.
The idea was, why didn't you just kill and then go kill?
Right.
And he waited, like they said, 90 minutes.
And if it was an intruder, why would you wait 91 minutes? Or that long? You would just get rid of.
I thought our guys were really locked in.
Hear that footstep?
Up here.
There's a footstep above us. Oh.
That sounded like a crawling to me.
Oh, we're outside?
Oh, it sounds like a car in our little parking lot out.
Go get them.
So who else was involved in the murders?
It's really difficult to describe exactly.
Probably complicated. With all these probably players involved.
And then...
Do you feel any remorse, Lizzie, for the killings? Either if you did them directly.
Talk.
Okay, I'm going to talk, but if you did them indirectly or directly, do you feel any remorse for the killings?
They showed up.
What did you do with your dress?
Now they're on the
He was
run.
tapping.
Knocking?
Knocking.
Maybe it's like she was planning with, talking about doing it, with these other people. Not really completely serious, and they showed up and did it.
Yeah.
And then it's like she can't say anything because she was involved, but she wasn't. It's complicated. Yeah. And then they ran.
I still don't get the vibe that she actually swung the axe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it's more of this team or conspiracy type thing with other people.
Knock
May
them off.
be in the house too, and you don't hear anything.
Yeah, I think
It's a
but I think she could be in the house because she was part of it,
Oh, for
while
sure.
other people were doing it.
59 years.
How many years?
I'm hearing like knocking and movement upstairs now.
Oh, I hear you.
15 minutes.
I don't know what that means.
Angels down on the road. This is so weird. I'm hearing so much shit.
So,
Court's in session.
There's a ton of spirits.
was a neighbor involved in the murder?
They watched.
Oh.
Oh, that's very spot on.
They could be like the scouts
Mm-hmm.
being involved. Nobody coming up to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask a question. Do you know if Lizzie ever gave
Make sure
any
they got
money
away
to
with it.
people that were involved with the murder after it happened?
The shiny pig.
Hmm.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what that stands for. If you type in shiny pig, like it's dough or something, like cash. Did Lizzie pay anybody with anything like cash or property, jewelry, gold? Can you say anything like that? A valuable item?
They were on the road.
Okay. Sounds like these people on the road, on the run. Did they get any valuables from Lizzie when they went?
Lizzie lost the lead.
It's kind of like, I mean, just even hearing Lizzie.
Yeah.
Is weird.
Well, yeah.
God.
Drastically changed.
Do you?
It's not a game like that.
So you're not really paying money for this. It's a different reason for people doing this.
Yeah.
So do you think we're talking to Lizzie or her parents?
I can't tell.
I know. Are you Lizzie?
I think it's cop car. I think it's flipping.
Yeah, like both here. Does anybody feel regret? You forgive Lizzie.
Of course.
Aw.
That's
gotta be the parents.
Ooh.
Dude, that was right above us.
Pipe just knocked right
Yeah.
there, right there.
What the
That's crazy. Right there.
That's
gotta be the parents.
Dude, that was right above us.
Pipe just knocked right
yeah.
there, right there.
That's
gotta be the parents.
Dude, that was right above us.
Pipe just knocked right
yeah.
there, right there.
Oh, it's cold.
Everybody's losing their jobs.
It's cold.
Dude, it's actually getting fucking cold in here right now. Do you feel that?
I do, yeah. From your side.
Yeah.
Not me.
Who's coming into the room right now?
Footstep up up here.
It's in there upstairs. Now that we came downstairs.
Hey, Jay. Hey, AJ. Hey, Jay.
I'm getting a ringing in my ears right now like I do before something big happens. Was there some sort of like a dark energy surrounding Lizzie Borden before the murders happened? Like some sort of a cloud? It's been here.
On the land.
Yeah.
I think she was maybe driven to do it.
Yeah, almost.
It stays here.
Oh.
Maybe that energy affected her dad and affected him to get angry and everybody to
The
fight.
poltergeist.
Okay, so something's here.
Because they all had psychic visions and stuff before it happened, and people, you know.
That was a knock.
The money's somewhere else.
Did Lizzie leave money?
In the back of the land.
Oh, God.
Yeah, did Lizzie leave money that no one ever found?
It seems so.
This is crazy, actually.
Like last night, or it wasn't on very well.
Yeah.
You
No.
know?
No, you're
And
right.
the Estes was not too on, and tonight this is definitely on.
Can we do anything to help you?
Build a tree? That doesn't really make sense.
Huh.
Build a tree.
Where were the pears at? Country?
Here.
Here's.
Here.
I'll
Oh, yeah.
build a tree. Do what we can do for them, like they like pear trees.
Yeah.
So you mean a pear tree? Would you?
What the crazy.
That was quite the wild reaction.
So you want us? So
That's a yes.
Yeah.
tomorrow we're gonna visit your guys' graves where your bodies are. Do you want us to bring you some pears? Would you like that? If
That'd be all right.
Be alright.
I got
Oh my
chills,
I mean,
dude.
Wow.
These things are. Wow.
I know.
In your ears, like your mom and I talk. We're worried about your hearing.
Yeah. I can actually hear the static just sitting here by him. Oh.
I thought it was just the.
They weren't lying about them for anybody.
Well, so at the end of the day, Lizzie Borden didn't act alone, and we still just don't know for sure if she actually killed you guys. Is that something that you just don't want to tell us?
Maybe an attractive candidate.
Got anything else?
I'm just kind of coming away pretty strong, feeling like Lizzie Borden was part of a group of people, and it can, in like,
Kind of confusing.
yeah, it got kind of screwed up, if you will, like it was complicated, right? How it all worked out with money or not money or land or people, whatever.
He's excellent.
Like even one that moved to Montana, Bridget was it?
Yeah.
I mean, she lived in a pretty nice lifestyle after that, and so that's what I think anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then she always got angry if you asked her about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
She was probably in on it at least a little bit.
come out.
Well, wait, hold on. Anything left to say? Could you touch that red light one more time?
Jeez.
Right when we asked about bringing the pears. That's fucking crazy.
And
actually.
Lizzie.
Yeah.
The time before.
Yeah.
It's dead.
It's like a
That was a voice.
Have the loudest ringing, just over the radio, consistent, just.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Yeah.
It's dead.
Mm. Yeah.
It kind of hurts.
I can actually. I can hear that.
That was a human voice, dude.
I couldn't hear a word. But I heard like a, like a voice.
Hello?
You know, the other thing could be is it could have sounded kind of like a cat. Remember? There's a cat here.
Oh,
Kind of sounded a little
Yeah.
bit like that to me too.
like a meow.
You have to listen back to it.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like I've been in here for like 2 hours.
It got really creepy in the...
That's
What was
like
that?
the REM pod or
No, it's not.
what?
Nothing is
The
on.
ringing's getting louder.
I keep hearing stuff.
It's getting like scary all of a sudden.
It's really creepy. What? What?
My contacts are getting so dry they're gonna fall out again.
Is there?
Okay, no, grab here.
Oh yeah.
Get Connor out.
Connor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
We
Are
good?
you okay?
Yeah.
Wow. That was good.
Dude, that was fucking
How
mental.
long was that?
25 minutes.
God!
Yeah, but it was so good.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That felt so long.
Dude, you should have... First of all, like 2 minutes ago, we just heard something go... Like a human voice upstairs. And we were... I'm like kind of freaked out.
This place is
Okay.
creepy.
Okay, now we haven't heard the wind. Really, the entire time we're down here till you take it off?
It's weird
What
as
is
fuck.
that?
I think
That's like the sound that
Just
I was
howling?
hearing in my ears
Okay.
towards the end of it.
It's creepy.
Yeah, that noise though at the end was like...
Yeah.
Like a fucking voice upstairs.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, amongst other things, we asked if it wants us to bring a pair tomorrow to their grave, and it immediately started going nuts.
Really?
Yeah.
And also prior to that, the only other time was when we brought up
Lizzie
and it went right off.
That was weird.
That was really
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
these goggles are
I
strange.
tell you, man, they're creepy.
God. So it's kind of glowing light in there when you have them on?
Yeah.
And so you have your eyes closed? Or just
Yeah.
blocks everything?
That could give you a seizure.
That's creepy.
Yeah, we're gonna have you guys do it on our next video.
Oh.
Okay. Got a freaking headache.
See the spooky parents with the glowing eyes.
We got a little closer to solving the mystery tonight, folks.
That's crazy.
Interesting
And now,
theory, if nothing
to end
else.
it all, we get to go upstairs to the murder floor and go to bed.
Find a place to sleep.
Great.
Yay!
But let's seriously say, genuinely no bullshit. If you're down here and you've been talking to us, and if there is something evil or dark here, you have to stay down here in the basement. You can't come upstairs with us. You have to stay down here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You should almost say a little prayer.
God, higher power, thank you for protecting us tonight. And please help us to remind whatever this thing is or who they are that they have to stay down here and that nothing negative is allowed to interact with us this evening.
Always sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
Yes.
Or while we're trying to go to sleep.
And can never follow us out of this building either.
Well, fucking Lizzie Borden, baby. Fucking Lizzie Borden. We did it. Everybody, hands in the middle. We did it, motherfucker. Axe murder on 3. 1, 2, 3. Axe murder! So the Estes method, having Connor do it, it seemed like something evil, something dark was speaking directly to us, and the REM pod was corroborating what was being said on the Estes method. I mean, there's just so much that was going on in that moment, and it was truly getting darker and darker. Now, what was truly frightening is that after that Estes, which still left us with so many questions, we had to put our cameras down and just crawl into a bed and go to sleep. And that was one of the most terrifying nights of sleep I've ever had, was sleeping in there. But I don't know. The one thing that we could take away, though, was that somebody wanted us to bring pears to the grave of the Bordens. And so the next day we got up, sun was shining, and we decided to do just that.
No.
So we're here in Fall River, Massachusetts, and we wanted to take you guys through a couple of the key locations in this crime and after the crime. So obviously we visited the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. That's where the murders took place. But right behind us is a home known as Maplecroft. Now, this is the house where, after her acquittal, Lizzie Borden moved to and lived in up until her death. She was here for almost 35 years, and she lived out the remainder of her life inside of this opulent Victorian mansion behind us. It's interesting because it's just on a random residential street here in Fall River. You'd drive by this place, you'd have no idea that Lizzie Borden lived and died here.
Right.
But yeah, the whole theory is that she's not really at the bed and breakfast. She's only there occasionally. But there have been a lot of different people that have reported seeing, feeling, and experiencing the ghost of Lizzie Borden in this home behind us. It's crazy. I would have never known, but it's really cool to sit here and just think Lizzie Borden lived here for almost 4 decades, you know? You can just imagine her walking up in the windows, tending to the shutters and lighting some candles. It's eerie. Kind of gives the haunted vibe. What do you guys think?
It's a beautiful house.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better neighborhood up here. And you can see if maybe she wanted to move, she got to move here after they died.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
Yep. Same thing.
It's huge.
Looks like another spooky house to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this would be a cool place to investigate, wouldn't it?
That'd be
Yeah, for
cool.
sure.
Please let us in.
Go knock on the door right now.
Be real popular with signs.
I like how they have maple craft in the steps there.
Oh, yeah, that's dope. I
That's
didn't even
cool.
see
I
that.
like that.
Well, we got
Okay.
one more place to visit today, y'all.
All right.
Just had to take people here to show them.
That was
Right
cool.
on.
And I wanted to see it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Okay,
cool.
yes.
So here's the arch. We're about to drive into the cemetery here. Here's that arch that he was talking about yesterday, that Phil was talking about during the interview. And look at, that's where the autopsy was done on the Borden's bodies. Or they cut the heads off, remember?
Mm-hmm.
That little room to the right.
Weird.
Yeah, and they're buried above the body, right?
Mm-hmm. Kind of strange.
Wow, this is cool.
So, to end our episode today, we're here at a local cemetery in Fall River, Massachusetts. Right behind us is the infamous grave of not only Lizzie Borden, but of her sister Emma and her stepmother and father, who she allegedly murdered. It's very interesting that the victims of a horrific murder are buried with the person that was accused of murdering them. And in addition, if you'll remember during the interview, Phil was talking about how they had to remove Mr. and Mrs. Borden's heads. They did that up at the front cemetery gate up there. They chopped the heads off, brought them in for the trial, boiled them down to the skull, and then later on came back and reburied them right here. But at the end of the night during our investigation, somebody, whoever we were talking to, confirmed that they wanted us to bring pears to them because pears were a favorite fruit of the Borden families. So we went to the store, we got 2 different types of pears, and we're gonna go visit their grave and leave them this offering for coming and speaking with us. It's about respect.
I don't think I've ever had a pear.
No.
You've never had a pear?
I don't think so.
Connor.
We got to get that on tape.
Wait,
A
you
pear?
gotta be messing with us.
I really don't know. No, I've had a pear.
No, he hasn't.
No, I had it like sliced really thin, but never like.
That's crazy,
Wow.
bro. What?
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
Okay.
damn.
I'm not one for greenery myself, so you can't get that in my mouth right now.
Abby
Pretty
Borden.
sure I wouldn't care for the texture.
Here you go, 1892, when she was murdered. Andrew Borden, 1892. Lizzie's mom, Sarah. And then, obviously right here, the children, Emma Lenora Borden and Elizabeth Andrews Borden, aka Lizzie. Once again, you see how he said in the interview too, they died only a few days apart. But here they are. Wow. That's crazy. Andrew Borden's right here. Abby Borden. Lizzie's got the gothic flowers year round. So, Lizzie Borden, or Lizbeth, Emma Borden, Andrew Borden, Abby Borden, Sarah Borden. I think we were talking to one of you last night and you wanted us to bring you pears. So, we're gonna leave these prayers along with our good energy. Obviously, we still don't know who murdered you guys. And I don't think we'll ever know. I think that's just one of those mysteries that's always gonna remain just that, a mystery. But I'm gonna place one pear right here for Andrew. And of course, I'm gonna put one right here for Lizzie Borden. Isn't it weird to just think the body of Lizzie Borden is right here? Lizzie Borden herself is right here.
And so many people visit it.
Whenever you visit a
apparently.
cemetery, to me, wild to think like this historical person is literally 5 feet from me right now.
Less than that.
Yeah, right.
At least, maybe. Lizzie, we're still not sure if you committed these crimes, but I feel like at least as your life went on, you tried to redo yourself. And we appreciate you talking to us last night, and hopefully you're resting in peace.
I think Lizzie, I think we heard stories about how she gave money to a lot of poor people, and she had a dog that she loved so much, and she was really a kind person in her later years. So, like Connor said, maybe, I don't.
That coat
The
on.
craziest thing about this story is that it's been, a cold case for so long. Nobody actually knows for
over
sure
a century
who did the murders, and anybody who was involved in those murders is gone today. And there's only the spirits left to talk to, and it will always be a mystery. And we'll never know for a fact who actually did these murders. I personally think that Lizzie was involved, but I don't know, I would really enjoy to go back to this place to maybe dig a little bit deeper into the story and get a little bit more evidence and see what else we could uncover. I mean, this place is amazing. It's a beautiful house. And, our tour guide was great, really knows his stuff. I really enjoyed this place.
So at the end of the day, I'm so happy, so just pleased to be able to check off the Lizzie Borden murder house from my paranormal bucket list. I mean, this is a place that I've wanted to investigate for years, and it was truly just a pleasure. I mean, the house looks so typically haunted house on the inside. It's got true crime elements, which I love and am so passionate and interested in. Then you had the thunderstorm above, the epic wind. I mean, like, you couldn't have had a more perfect night for a ghost hunt, and my opinion might be changed. I mean, I still think that to a degree Lizzie was innocent, but how innocent? I don't really know. And we'll never have those answers. Kind of like Connor said, there's no finality in this case. There's no new evidence to find. There's nothing that can really be done besides hypothesizing and, researching yourself. But the Lizzie Borden murder house is definitely haunted. I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. And it was truly one of the best nights of my life, being able to spend it in there. So, thank you guys for watching so much. You know I've been talking about doing this place for a long time, so it felt amazing to finally do it. We will be back next week with another very, very spooky episode. Once again, we love you guys. Thank you for watching this evening, and stay spooky.
And prepare to be horrified, and we'll see you all next week. The Freetown State Forest. I was going to check out the Freetown State Forest. Yeah, we'll check out a forest next time. So, if any luck, that'll be the video I try to tackle tomorrow. Hopefully a little sooner in the day so I can chillax the rest of the day, etc. But that's going to be it for tonight, folks. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. So, with that said, see you all then, and pleasant dreams.